disclosure.
So, I don't know. Are you going to be short on time? Okay. So, so Michelle's going to be the disembodied voice in the background here, running the chat room. So everybody, remember if you want to possibly, I'm not going to guarantee. We love you, but I'm not going to guarantee that we're going to be able to get your question to Steve. I have a lot of questions I want to ask him, and so we will try to get him up there and see if he can answer our questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So, Steve, you have been everywhere talking about UAPs. It was only a matter of time before you're going to end up on a Michigan UFO podcast at some point. So hopefully we do you proud here. With your bio, though, I couldn't find anything that led to you starting getting into things that led to you starting PRG. So, like in the first place, so what drew you to this topic to begin with?
through the classified ads looking for a paid gig. Right? I mean, you can always apply. You can always send in a resume and say, "I'd love to work for you." But if you really want to get to it, you just volunteer. And I did. And I went out there for 4 months. And that was January to June of, or roughly late January, June of 1996. And it was there while I was just helping out in Cambridge, Massachusetts, surrounded by contactees and staff who were also contactees, and just generally all excited about everything, just kind of really feeling like, hey, I'm part of this now. I knew my time was up. It was going to be up because it was volunteer, and that's not forever. If you fit in, you can for the staff, but I wasn't a researcher, so it didn't fit. So I'm sitting there wondering what to do next when it hit me. Boom, just hit me. What can I say? Just one of those things. And what hit me was this. The problem with this issue wasn't science. There wasn't enough proof. There's plenty of proof, tons of research and accounts and reports going back decades. Not to mention, by then, of course, I was fully familiar with the Roswell event, which is one of the most researched events in the history of the issue. So if the problem is not science, what's the problem? It's politics. The reason that the government had not confirmed the ET presence was political, not science. And the politics was essentially based on national security. The ET presence was a national security matter, which was made classified and deeply embedded within the national security structures from the beginning. But it was a difficult problem for the government, very difficult. It's not like hiding a secret airplane or some research on some weapon or whatever you want to classify, though they classify too much. It was trying to keep secret something that was not a secret. In other words, you're going to have to tell the world going forward that there's nothing to see there when in fact it's flying all over the place all the time. Because the ETs you see were not on board with the government's program. What do? Well, they had a lot of money and a lot of sophisticated skills that they had honed during World War II and World War I and so forth on intelligence and propaganda and misdirection and misinformation and all of that. And they applied it all to this issue. And they effectively did what I call a truth embargo. They embargo the issue. In other words, you can't go there. There's no there, but if you're thinking about going there, it's not there and you can't go there, right? This was the truth embargo. This was the situation that I realized was the case in 1996 while in Cambridge. And at that point I said, well, then it has to have a political solution. That means you have to engage it as an activist. And I'm thinking, well, what would I do? How would I do that? It's not like this was a big activist movement going on. There wasn't. Right? And then the next thing occurred to me was, wait a minute, I'll bet no one has ever registered as a lobbyist on this issue. No wife, no kids, no dogs, no cats, nothing to lose, do that, whatever the hell I wanted to do. And I said, I will go to DC, I will register as the first lobbyist on this issue. Just put it right there in the registration. Extraterrestrial presence, suppressed technology, yada, yada, yada. Just stick it in there and file that puppy with the Senate. Knowing full well that the checked every lobbying registration. They checked them all. They had somebody, some intern their job was to check every single one. Why? Because there's news there. If Saudi Arabia or somebody representing Saudi Arabia signs up as a lobbyist on the oil situation, they want to know that. And so, sure enough, when my registration came across their radar, and they said, they stopped me, what? He's registering on what? And they said, well, we got to talk to him. So the Washington Post sent a reporter out, interviewed me for several hours, put a huge article in the front page of the business section, which I still have to this day. And thus was my activist career launched in this issue. That did a little when I was younger, but I didn't get serious. This time I got serious. That was 26 years ago. I thought at the time the thing would all be solved within 5 years, 6 years tops. I misunderstood just how deeply entrenched the truth embargo was, and the government was committed to maintaining this lie no matter what happened, right? No matter what events took place. And no matter how hard it got, and it got a lot harder, they were going to stick to this issue until the last dog died. And now we are 26 years in, 76 years in since Roswell. And the truth embargo still stands, but I expect it to end finally this year. The truth embargo
Okay,
still
so
stands.
this year. All right, so
but I expect it to end.
Do you
finally
think, and this kind of goes with
The truth
Rodrigo's
embargo
question
still
here. So this
stands.
says, all right,
Where
so
does Steve think
we'll get more definitive answers about the phenomenon from the government? So he's got an S there. So I'm imagining he's thinking the governments of the world who are interested in this, or from civilian and scientific community. And in my mind, I am a scientist. I'm a science teacher, but I'm also a earth and space science. And my brain is very logical when it comes to this stuff. And if these things are interacting with people so much, and these stories are getting out there, the anecdotal evidence, even some of the physical evidence that's been reported that we haven't seen, I'm going to go with we're going to see more from the civilian / scientific community than we are the governments. And Steve, can you talk to that?
Sorry, yeah, wrong answer, but we got some wonderful party gifts for you. Right?
Okay, I'll take them.
Definitive answers are going to come from the government. It's that simple. The civilian sector has done its best to learn what it can, and it has learned many things. But because the government has embargoed this issue, the entire academic community of 5,000 colleges and universities and the several million professors who have served in there over the last 76 years, I use the word millions correctly, has completely laid down on the issue and stayed out of it. Not a single properly accredited course. I think there's a couple that might have gotten a credit or two at a couple of places. David Jacobs had a
fuck YouTube.
course
If
that they
YouTube
allowed
deletes
him
my
to give
channel, you're
until he
going to
retired,
fucking hell, motherfuckers.
on the
Straight
subject.
up.
And David Jacobs, of course, one of the important researchers on contact.
Delete my shit.
That's about it. I think it was a community college
You call
course.
this live stream abuse?
So
I'm
we're
fucking
talking
hanging out
the
with my
entire
fucking friends and shit.
the academic community
Fuck y'all,
of the
dude.
most powerful
They
nation
said
in the
streaming other people's
world,
content
with more money and resources than
live
any
stream
other
abuse?
academic
You fucking kidding me?
institutions in the world, completely passed
These people are
on
fucked.
this
YouTube is
issue
fucked in the brain.
because it did not want to go against the government's policy of embargo. All right, so didn't come from there. Now you had some scientists here and there that dabbled in it. It didn't help them. Didn't help their careers any. I can tell you that. The odd organization was formed, SCU and a couple of others, and you saw some what we would call some effort to do some research. But think about it. When these few scientists were trying to get together to show some scientific evidence, the government had already known that there was an extraterrestrial presence since '46. So they're coming together to try to get you some definitive answers on something the government already had the definitive answers 40, 50 years prior. But it's worse than that, because the government has taken measurable and effective steps to undermine their efforts, suppress their efforts, coerce their efforts, misinformation, disinformation, coercion, all along. So as the, quote, scientists, the few scientists who would step into the issue were not in a fair playing field. If the area of atomic physics or quantum physics or any other major area of scientific research had to deal with what the people in this subject had to deal with, we would still be in the 1900s. 1900s, I meant 1800s.
Yeah.
On tech science and technology. And governments have done this in the past. They've stepped in, and religion has done the same thing and saying, look, I don't care what you're seeing or what you're finding or what you think. According to our doctrine, our religion, or our government policy, you can't do that. It's not worth it. And if you continue, we're going to kill you. This has happened many times over history. That's what happened on this issue.
Is that the proverbial men in black that pay you a visit kind of a thing?
That's just a symbol for a very complex and effective effort along many fronts to ensure this issue is not legitimized. So what does that mean? That's why I call it a truth embargo, and that's why I call the process essentially an intellectual ghetto. If you delegitimize the issue and the people in it, then if they find anything, nobody cares. There's no response. So, yeah. Now, in other countries and other times, they wouldn't bother with an intellectual ghetto. They would create a real ghetto. And so, if they didn't like what you were doing, you were forced to live behind some brick walls, or they would kill you. But we have a constitutional republic that has certain values, which we violate all the time, and nevertheless, we try to adhere to them. And so, we can't do that. You can't be killing hundreds and hundreds of scientists and military witnesses and so forth. Nah, that's not going to fly. And so you delegitimize it so that if anybody does say anything, nobody pays attention, or they don't say anything at all because who wants to be delegitimized? That's the game that's been going on for 76 years. It is disgusting. It is reprehensible. It was legal. It served national security, and it had a reasonable basis from 1946 to perhaps 1991, given all the nuclear weapons that we built with trillions of taxpayer dollars, and all the nuclear weapons our enemies built with trillions of their taxpayer dollars. Yeah, I get it. But after 1991, it should have ended, and it didn't. And it's now, what, 33 years on, and this embargo still exists. Right? So
Yeah.
we will not get definitive answers on this subject until the President of the United States ends this truth embargo by going in front of the American people and saying, yes, this phenomena is non-human technology built by, piloted by, controlled by non-human sentient beings, probably from another solar system, slight possibility from another dimension, even slighter possibility from out of time, and a really slight possibility they've been living here all along and we just haven't noticed it. Until we get that confirmation, which is disclosure capital D, we're not going to get any definitive answers. And when we get it, the definitive answers are going to start coming from the government, who will willingly start providing these, because the pressure on them will be absolutely beyond measure. Because once the lid is off, once the door is opened, the entire world and the entire media megaplex is going to be rushing through saying, okay, what have you got? And at that point, lying is not going to cut it. Misinformation is not going to cut it. Bullshit's not going to cut it. The government is going to start revealing it. Then when the issue is legitimized, then the fine, really courageous academics of America will say, let's talk about that. Let's study that. Let's teach that. God bless them. And then the corporations will come forward and start getting information. Patents will be unleashed, and we'll see some development along those lines. But until we get disclosure, all we are is dancing in the dark.
Yeah, well said. And Rodrigo here is asking a question, and man, he's reading my mind. There was a lot to unpack there because I have a ton of questions.
If YouTube deleted my channel, I would kill shit, bro.
When my wife and I saw the UFO that triggered us into starting this podcast in 2018, we didn't start this until about 2021 after we amassed a Facebook group of over 6,000 people telling us that they saw triangles and orbs and stuff. And it blew my mind, and I was like, we should probably start talking to people about this. We've met and talked to all kinds of people, and
YouTube
we noticed
deletes my channel,
about last year, you talk about this truth embargo and everything, and it feels like that there are different groups or factions playing games within the government. I don't know if it's the military industrial complex, if you want to call it that, or other groups that seem to be fighting, because we were talking about how the media not too long ago seemed like they were starting to try to put the genie back in the bottle about the middle of last year. In New York Times, here I have one of their articles that says many military UFO reports are just foreign spying or airborne trash, and they use that word trash to start to delegitimize, I believe, as you were saying, about the reports. And they kind of nitpicked and went through things and kind of left it as like, yeah, guys, it's really nothing. So with what you just said, do you think there's this back and forth going on, and certain people in the media and in the government trying to slow down this getting rid of this embargo? And if a president ever did say this, do you think they would be around very long?
Let's see. First of all, what that article said was some of this stuff could be foreign, intelligence and airborne trash. It just happens to be true. No big deal. It's true. Is it what the turnaround on this? No. Since 2017, and the two rather now famous New York Times articles, I have logged on my website nearly 2,000 articles just about the engagement of this issue by the DOD and the Congress and related subjects. 2,000 articles. All right. So that one article, no big deal. Now, the amount of coverage has varied from time to time depending upon what was going on and whether there was any news breaking. But I assure you, anytime anything breaks related to UAP, the media is all over it. So the cattle are out of the barn. The chickens have left the roost. The toothpaste out of the tube, right? It's essentially, the truth embargo is a dead lie walking. It's going to end soon. Now, are there a lot of entities within government jockeying for position and or doing their thing or what have you? Yeah, there's always that. There's always been that. This is a massive undertaking, ending this truth embargo. It involves all the military services, all the intelligence services, the House, the Senate, the White House, and the Department of Defense, right? And so, yeah, it's a really complicated process pulling this off, which is true of anything, really, when you're talking about government and a major issue. So people are getting caught up in the details of going, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What's important is there a process moving forward that's going somewhere? Yes, there is. It's the disclosure process. And in this case, I mean the political process, meaning capital D disclosure. The process leading to the confirmation event. There has always been a small d disclosure process going all the way back to 1946, still going on to this day, and will go on forward, meaning a process of revealing, a process of things coming out, being known. That has always been going on, except that the government was trying to impede that for many decades. Now it's getting out of the way, and to some degree, government entities are getting involved in the revealing process, small d disclosure. And that will continue. But the disclosure process I'm referring to is the confirmation.
A lot of people are grabbing
process, the process leading to the confirmation statement from the president. That is ongoing, and that is irreversible. And there's nothing anybody in the government can do about it now. It's too late now, and they know this, and they understand this. And what I've been trying to tell in hundreds of podcasts since 2017, God knows how many, maybe not podcasts, but interviews of any kind, is to get across a very fundamental point that will help your viewers maybe feel a little less confused by this. All right. And so I'm going to state it for the 1,000th time, and I don't mind, right? I don't mind. Hey, it's okay. No problem. Happy to do it. What you are seeing is not the United States government recently learning that, oh my God, there's something up there which we don't understand, and we should probably take a look at it. And it has national security implications. Maybe we should have a hearing about it. We should maybe set up an entity within the Department of Defense, which is going to examine this in greater detail. Whatever. It is not about that at all. The government has known there is non-human sentient technology in our airspace, in our water, and on the ground when it wants to be, since no later than 1946, period. Does that mean everybody in the government has known? No. Those that need to know. Those that have the clearance know. Those who have figured it out on their own within government know. Those that have been tipped up at cocktail parties after somebody with a top secret clearance had too many gin and tonics and just sort of told them, hey, guess what? The number of people in the government that know is a very large number. The number of people in politics that know is a large number. The number of people in the academic community is a large number. And they stay silent. They keep it to themselves. They keep it within their workplace. Why? Because the issue has been delegitimized. It has been ghettoized. It has been undermined by the government for national security policy. There are penalties for speaking incorrectly about this. There are penalties for coming forward. Just as if you were talking about penalties for dumping classified documents into a gamer room. That boy is going to jail for anywhere from 15 to 40 years. And so consequently, because it's embargoed, doesn't mean people do not know. And so if the government is already known, if the government has crashed vehicles and technology in its deepest laboratories they've been working on, just like in the movie Independence Day, for decades, then what the hell is happening? What is happening is that the US government and the politicians came to realize that the truth embargo's days were numbered. And some of the things that have helped cement that idea in their brain were this. What was the first browser? The one that got the early browser, the one before Google.
Netscape?
Not Netscape, even before that. The very first one that came out, it was called something. The name escapes me, but one of your listeners, viewers, is going to put it right up there on my screen in a second.
AOL.
You had the early browser, then you had Google, then you had Facebook, then you had Twitter, right? You had websites, and then you had, my God, podcasts, okay, live netcasts. You had the development of a global communications infrastructure that allowed an interested person in Michigan to go on a website in China and have it translated by Google so they could see what somebody in China was thinking about this issue, or Afghanistan, or Zimbabwe, or France, or England, or Germany, or anywhere else. That neurosphere that Teilhard de Chardin talked about all the way back in the 60s was literally forming, has been all this time. And so the issue, which is the most interesting and best known issue in the world, was merged in it, saturating it, right? Not to mention the fact that mics are getting better, cameras are getting better, cell phones were now in the billions, all right? And so you're going to try to continue to maintain a truth embargo on something that's in the sky all the damn time with all of this tech now in the hands of billions of people? No, it was over. And so in 2017, a group of individuals who all worked in the military intelligence complex their entire careers made a decision to come forward publicly
Fuck YouTube.
as private citizens
I don't like YouTube.
and
I want to go
engage
to
the
somewhere
issue
else.
and shake the trees. That happened in
Oh, yeah, I gotta tell
2017.
everyone to
It led
follow
to
me on
the
Rumble.
New York Times article and the 3 gun camera footages. And I don't really care what those gun camera footages were of, right? That hasn't been established. I don't care to what flaws that people have found in them. Those gun camera footages were acknowledged as being released by the Department of Defense. They weren't home videos of the Secretary of Defense. They were gun camera captures from our F-18s. And so by doing that alone, it didn't matter what they were. They triggered the New York Times article and basically punctured the balloon
Hey, what's
that
up,
has
Sarah?
been
Hey,
the truth
for
embargo
some reason my chat
building
was loading.
for
I think my
decades and
chat's
decades.
loaded
And when you
now.
pop a balloon, what happens?
Let me go
All the air
into
comes out at
the
once.
YouTube app.
And so since 2017, what has happened is that the rest of society and the government and so forth has been maneuvering to end the truth embargo. Now, one might say, why don't you just rip the Band-Aid off? Why don't you the president just comes out and says, hey, sorry, we've been lying about this all these years, you know how we are, we lie, we start wars, we do stuff, it's just how we roll. So forgive us,
Sarah,
and we hope to take
This is the head of the disclosure movement
the
of our
political
disclosure team, Stephen
ramifications and
Bassett.
damage that would do is incalculable, and nobody's going to sign on, right? Okay, it's just you just don't do that. There are ways to do things, all right, and so the way the truth embargo has
This
to
is the
end
head of disclosure, baby.
is that all of the proper entities, people, departments, and agencies and services need to be involved in a orderly,
Close friend of
appropriate
ours.
process that leads to the president making the confirmation. In other words, they have to do all of the stuff they could have done in 1946, 47. They had the opportunity. The press release was out. It was being published around the country. Reporters are on their way to Roswell to interview every living person in that town, including the dogs and the cats. It would have been done right then, and they would have had to start the whole thing and go, whoa, whoa, whoa! But well, okay, let's have a press conference and what's going on, and would you like to see the dead aliens? Whatever. They could have done it then. They chose not to. Well, okay. They fished around with it for a while. And then in 1952, they had another chance to do it when you had the mass sightings over Washington, D.C., which scared the hell out of everybody, right? And gave them a chance to go, well, look, what can we say? This is really a big deal, and let's deal with it. And they could start the process then. They chose not to do it. The Cold War locked everything in place, and in 1991, when the Cold War essentially was, quote, over and the Soviet Union was gone, that was the next chance they had, the third chance they had to do all of this and end it. They chose not to. Well, this is the fourth time, and this is it. And so they're doing now what they should have done then. And what is it that they're doing? They're doing what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make appropriate statements from the DOD. Politicians are supposed to make the appropriate statements to show the appropriate interest.
Thanks for following, Sarah.
To pass the appropriate legislation, to set up the appropriate entities at the DOD, yep. Primarily is what it's going to be, right? And fund them and get them going. And then that entity is supposed to set up a cross-agency working group, and they're supposed to start organizing and showing that they're doing the right thing and paying attention to this legitimate issue. And then witnesses need to be called in who have something to say about this issue, to testify in front of important committees, in front of the world, all right? And the media gets a chance to cover all this, and it is thousands of articles, so it's doing the job it should have done all those years, because in addition to the academic community, which laid down on this issue for 70 years, the media laid down on this issue. They covered it. Tens of thousands of articles are written about it, but they didn't investigate it. They understood, either because they were told specifically or they figured it out on their own. Write all the articles you want, but don't come hanging around our back door. Don't try to get inside sources in the Pentagon. Don't go through our trash, or you'll never get another source contact in our entity again. And maybe worse things will happen to you. And so the media said, okay, we have a certain, obligation as journalists, but this is national security. We're going to stand down on it too. Well, now they're doing their thing. They're covering it extensively. And so all of this is it's not a charade. It is more like a ritual. They have to go through all this to do the right thing so that the president can make the confirmation announcement, and all hell won't break loose and everybody won't go nuts. But more importantly, so they'll look better. In other words, the government, the White House, the Congress, the Department of Defense, the Air Force, the Navy, the CIA, all of them would like to look better.
Trying to get off YouTube.
When this happens, they want to be appreciated more. They would not like to be trolled too much. They don't want a lot of hate mail. They want to be seen as, part of the solution. And they understand that Americans have a short memory. Millennials don't even know where Roswell is. And so if they go through this process, everybody will applaud.
People
Unbelievable. Oh, wow. Tell us more. What? Oh, we're happy to tell you. We want more hearings. Absolutely. All right. And those of us that know better, those of us that know that this is actually something they should have done 70 years ago, that they have been embargoing it all this time, will raise our hand and go, well, you do know, you've known about this. And at some point, and it won't take long, they will acknowledge that too. But you see, at that point, who cares? You know, yeah, you lied. Yeah, you did this. Yeah, you did that. I wasn't even born then. We just learned there's ETs here. I want to know more. I'm excited about
Right,
the
shit.
future. And so you hard ass guys that have been in the field
What?
all these years, just go away. You know, just let's
Hello,
move forward together in the
Sister
future.
Lee?
That is what is going. It is a public relations driven extrication project in which they are
Little bastard.
lying their way out from under a far bigger lie.
She'll just
Now,
recharge them
some
immediately.
people would say, well, Steve, you're still the bees. I mean, you're out.
Yeah, this is why I fly
I
backwards.
mean, that's going to ruin, isn't it? I mean, people are going to know, oh, man, this is, you're actually just going through the motions there.
Mining people, that'll work well, Dan.
And I'm going, it's okay. It's all right. It's not going to stop it.
Still alive,
It's
I
not going
see.
to change it.
Well, yes.
I'm not interfering with this project. Or this
So is this whole
plan or
new
overtime.
Sentinel mission chain
What I'm
thing
doing
they
is
added in
this.
the...
I want people
I'm going to fly into
who
it.
have been
Oh,
lied
no.
to their entire life on this issue to at least understand the truth of the process that's ending that lie.
That seems
Because
easy
one,
enough.
it's the right thing.
Now where do we go?
Two, for those that are, it'll help mitigate their anger and
Install the
frustration,
Sentinel
because
hardware.
a lot of them are angry and frustrated. They hear something. Are you kidding me? Did you just say what you said? I knew that 45 years ago. Can't you read a book, right? And so
Coming
and
through.
they don't
Out of the way. Come
begin.
through.
And so
Excuse me.
It's all
I seem to
everything in
remember
this country
digging a
is
hole
being
through those
ground
at one
down and undermined by
I seem to
massive
remember digging a
distrust
hole.
that's built up in this country for decades, not just on the
Whatever.
UAP issue.
Hello,
And so
how
I'm
are
saying,
you?
look,
Kia ora.
the truth of it is this: they're
It's,
just going through the motions to do
hello
the right
in
thing.
Maori.
They've always known.
Maori.
Let them.
Maori.
Okay, this is what's going to get us
Alright, let's
disclosure.
get further away
And once
then.
we get disclosure, that's when we start finding out the rest of the story. That's when
There
we
we go.
really engage the issue. That's when the tech might become available. That's when all the good stuff will happen. Until disclosure, no.
So is this whole
And so,
new Sentinel mission
relax,
chain thing
chill,
they added in the, what was it, the
support it.
Interceptor update? Is that
call
literally
up,
just this getting
text,
ourselves
or
a
Twitter,
autonomous walker?
any member of Congress who speaks to this thing properly, and there are a number now that have done that.
Not that I care, not that I
tweet them
mind.
how wonderful they are. Tweet them all the praise you can.
Oh man, I'm
call.
so tempted
Call
to
up if
start
you
over,
need
but
to.
the
Send a letter.
grind.
I don't care.
Shit.
Praise the process.
Like we don't need to
Because it's
grind
gonna get the
anything
job
anymore.
done. That's what's going on now, and that is not easy
Hello.
for some people to get. But that's why I do what I do.
You're back from your mission.
So
right. See-
a question was brought up earlier by Rodrigo, and it's one of the questions I
ships.
had too.
Probably a little overkill.
So my
What do we get,
understanding is that you are
A
in
lot of light
the
years. So,
what
grease.
I want to say, the
Pyrite
realm
grease.
of understanding that the U.S. government is in possession of some type of crashed or recovered alien equipment. Is that correct? So
honestly,
kind
I don't know.
of with
I'm
the
using,
Bob Lazar
controller.
type of thing, where he
I don't think
was
I've ever
somebody
played
who
this
was
game with
working on
keyboard.
that. Are
Bob Lazar is somebody who has talked to this issue.
How do you say it? So when you're
Okay.
flying your space
Just because
ship,
I
plane
am quite
moves
convinced
as-
that we have ET technology in crash vehicles doesn't mean that I sign on to every accounting of that.
right,
All
right.
It simply means that there is evidence that is sufficient
Hey, thank
to
you.
confirm to me that we have that technology. It comes from many sources.
Okay.
All right?
Thanks, Sarah,
and
for
it's
sharing
public.
me out.
The information is public. You can just go find it. You don't have to have be meeting somebody in a garage in Roslyn, Virginia, to find this out. So we have that tech, and one of the most significant things about the disclosure process is that we have to find out for sure, one way or another,
Steve Bassett, I love
advantages
you,
that
Steve
tech could
Bassett.
to the human race in dealing with its overwhelming set of problems that it now faces. I mean, we are overwhelmed by our problems now. The days of just get it done, or we can do anything, and this country can solve every problem, those days are over. Now we as a civilization and as a country are facing what clearly seem to be insurmountable problems. So overwhelming, people are just crawling up into a dark
It's like
space
fucking-
and
it looks
getting
like
in a
black
fetal
tar heroin,
position.
but it's just some fucking
That's
resin
how
and weed.
bad things
It's like
are
hash.
getting. And so extraterrestrial technology, yeah, I want to know what they've got. I want to know how we can use it for something other than just making even bigger weapons, which is another insurmountable problem we're facing. So yeah, tech is a pretty big deal. And it's part of the reason why disclosure needs to happen.
So, speaking of working in DC and your political action within the group, I know there's like, was it Tim Burchett, who's gone on a lot and talked about this, this topic and everything. Who else have you worked with closely in the higher up echelon of representatives, congressmen, senators? And I guess, what was your thought when you first went there and started talking to these people? Were they in the know? Were some of them in the know? Were some of them blowing you off? Did you get the feel that they knew stuff, they just weren't going to work with you or talk to you? And what was your initial kind of indoctrination into this by those people in DC?
Let me clarify. I understand what you're saying. Early on, we're talking 1996, 97, I learned very quickly that talking to anybody in Congress was hopeless. Okay? I had meetings, but not going anywhere. Okay, fine. I'm still a registered lobbyist to this day because it is a flag that needs to be waved, okay? There's a registered lobbyist. Now there are a number of them, by the way. A number of people have now registered lobbyists, including some paid entities.
I wish I had just a little bit of helium.
But back then,
if I had a tiny bit of helium, I would have saucers
and so
flying
what I
all
ended
over
up doing
around me.
I was saying,
like
I'm going to lobby
months.
the media.
Because
If
I
the
have
Congress won't
these
listen to you,
balloons,
you
and I
lobby
make
the
these
media.
saucers out of them.
You
and
get
they
stuff
fly
in the
around
newspapers, and then the
and
members of Congress
they
read
fly
it.
around for months, dude. It's so dope.
And so I have probably done
I
more
gotta
lobbying
teach
of
you
the
guys how
media
to
of
make
this issue
a
than any
balloon
living person.
saucer.
On my website, paradigmresearchgroup.org, you can see an example of this.
You use these chrome
At
silver. I use these chrome
under the
silver ones,
resources
or like a
section,
mylar or
the
whatever,
resources
like different
menu.
foils.
You find Print Media Archive,
metallic layered foils. It looks like a UFO. It looks dope.
Resources, Print Media Archive. You go to the Print Media Archive, I think I'm up to 13,000 articles that are linked there.
Whoa.
If you want to, you could read all 13,000. Now, admittedly, many of the links are dead, but many of those I actually have copies on my server. I just have to have the time to go in and swap them out. It's tedious. But say there's 10,000 links, go read them all. That is only a fraction of the number of articles that have been written on this subject since 1946. I don't even know what the number is. I'm going to guess it's in the 30 to 40,000 range. But in order to, quote, connect to those articles, you literally have got to go to newspaper offices and get into microfiche, right? Microfiche and get copies of the microfiche or whatever, and then digitize them and put them up on the web. So I mean, but we're talking huge numbers of articles. But again, just articles, no investigative work.
Oh my god, dude!
Just they covered the phenomena which has been going on all these years. But starting in 2006, I started making an archive of articles that could be linked to. Some of them are backdated. Yes, some of them go way back because they have turned up. But still, 13,000. All right. I have talked with countless numbers of reporters. I have pressured them and bullied them and pushed them to get this subject, to address this subject.
I need to put on my yarmulke.
During the campaign for the presidency in 2015-16, working with my publicist, who's a legend in Washington, D.C., we got that ball rolling, and by the time that election took place, 400 articles had been written in mainstream media
I wish I had a little Jewish hat.
about the connection between one of the candidates, in this case it would have been Senator Hillary Clinton, and her campaign chairman, Podesta, and her husband, President Clinton, their connection to the ET issue. 400 articles. Now, the result of that was that Senator Clinton, President Clinton, and John Podesta had to actually go in front of some reporters and talk show hosts on 12 occasions and answer questions about this. It was all arranged, right? They weren't going to expose themselves to Morley Safer or one of the top news people, but just to show that they were aware that these articles were being written. That has been what I have done. Right? Get the issue out, get it in play in every way possible. But going on the Hill was a waste of time. Now, as it happens, in the last few years, that has changed.
Put on my little Jewish hat.
But I have been off that field for two reasons. One, first, the pandemic. And secondly, for the last 2 years, I've been working on a significant media project related to this issue in Los Angeles. And so my colleagues are on the Hill talking to these people. I know them. Yeah, they're all over that. Do I wish I was there? Yeah, I wish I was there. I really wish I was. And it bothers me that I'm not. But you can't do everything. And I don't have the funding to go buy Coastal. If I came into $20,000, $30,000 right now, I'd be set up with another office in DC, and I'd be out there right now working both coasts, but I can't do that. And so I'm focused in Los Angeles. Now, having said that, I'm following things very closely. And so now you have these members of Congress who deserve your praise and tweets, letters and emails, whatever the hell you can send them, telling them how wonderful they were. Telling some member of Congress that what an ass they are because they don't talk about this issue or they say something stupid accomplishes nothing, right? But telling somebody in Congress how wonderful they are accomplishes a lot, all right? It is 100 times more effective. And so you have Marco Rubio, Republican. You have Mark Warner, Democrat. You have Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Democrat. You have Congressman Andre Carson, Democrat. You have Congressman Mike Gallagher, Democrat. You have Congressman Tim Burchett, Republican. All right. You have Ruben Gallego, House, Democrat. These are the ones that are known to have been straight out with the press about this issue. I may have left a couple others out, but their comments might have been very short, brief, and not much. We have hundreds of members of Congress, not hundreds, a very large number of members of Congress have been briefed, classified, given classified briefings on this in the last 3 or 4 years. Absolutely. And so the issue is all over the Hill. Just because you weren't briefed doesn't mean you're not learning about it, because you have lunch with somebody in the congressional cafeteria, and they're letting you know stuff. And so the issue has been, the Capitol Hill is marinating in this issue slowly, but I assure you it's not going away. And you've got people on there giving interviews. You've got people doing filming that's turning up in documentaries and so forth. None of that is going away. More members are going to come forward very soon. And I want to emphasize that all of this is happening going back to 2017, but really getting underway in 2020, during the worst pandemic since 1917, which, if it wasn't for the technology and the biotech that we have and the other resources we have, could have easily killed a couple of 100 million people, which would make it the worst pandemic in all of human history. We've gone through that. We've gone through some of the most bizarre, disruptive politics in the history of the American Republic, right? And yet this issue has continued to advance in spite of that. So, to answer your questions, you need to talk to some other people about what it's like interviewing Tim Burchett and all of those. I intend to get there in time. I hope that when I do, I may have some questions to ask that may be useful. I'm really more looking forward to being in a consulting situation. In other words, any member of Congress that would like to talk about the issue privately, just confidentially, to get some perspective on it from the outside, to decide how to engage it and what to do, I would love to talk with them. Happy to help and happy to keep it confidential. In other words, we're past lobbying like, hey, look, here's the deal. You got to get on this, right? You got to get on this. Now, I don't have any money or anything. We can't put anything in your PACs or so forth, but look, it's an important issue, and you really need to do something about it. No, we're past that now.
Smoky
They're
Bobby
already on the way.
Hash.
They're already trying to decide what to do. They don't need to be lobbied on that. What they need is advice and consultation. Perhaps if I can get the funding and perhaps if things go well here in Los Angeles, I'll be able to play that role as well. Back in DC, I do have a huge number of reporters in my Rolodex. I'm hoping some of them will start calling me. I will be approaching them soon along certain lines, but that's kind of the role that I have played. I know a lot of people think that I've been crawling around the hill all these years. No, I haven't been. There were times years back when I went through the entire House and Senate. In other words, I walked through the entire House and Senate halls delivering a book on this subject, right? Or a DVD. Back when you could do that. You can't do that now. But back then, you just got a big basket of DVDs and you just walked in, went through security and you went down the halls and you handed one to every single receptionist at every single member of Congress, 535. I did that a number of times. Those were the days. Well, those days are over, right? But so that's my history here, and I'm glad I have a chance to clear that up. I am a political activist who is registered as a lobbyist, but I am foremost a political activist, and that means doing anything and everything that advances us towards the goal of the activism, the prize. And one of my biggest contributions was defining that goal, which really was not defined properly when I entered in '96 and still wasn't defined by the aughts. And that is this: what is the goal of all this? To have the ETs come and say hello? To sit down to dinner with them? What is the goal here? The goal has always been, since 1946, formal confirmation by the heads of state of nations of their presence. Disclosure, capital D. That is the goal.
Been to have sex with
right?
aliens.
The fundamental goal of the activist movement. It may not be the goal of the scientists. They want to know this, they want to know that. But from the standpoint of humanity and society, the goal is we must have confirmation by our heads of state so that all the doors will open so that the whole human race can engage this in every way possible. That's the goal. That is what we're seeking. And that is what should happen this year.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that was a lot. Well said. That's awesome. Well said, sir. Much appreciated on that answer. So what is, if you could pick one, what is your biggest or top number one piece of evidence that convinced you that the U.S. has got some of this tech, maybe other countries do, whatever, but that convinced you of this? Was it 2017 or was there something else before that that really you said, this is the evidence? The U.S. has some of this stuff from 47 or recovered from somewhere, and it's not ours.
Here's the way it works. Now, the truth embargo twists this. The government twists this and says it needs to be this or it needs to be that. But that's all nonsense. That's the way it works. You come to a decision about something based upon the cumulative evidence, the totality of the evidence, to reach a state that we call beyond a reasonable doubt. That's how it works in the general affairs of human beings.
Why am I getting fucking text messages?
And one of those affairs are the matter of justice and trials and things like that. So you have trial. Evidence is brought forward for and against the plaintiff, right? And the jury hears it all, goes into session and decides whether to come back with guilty or innocent. It's a pretty strict test. Beyond a reasonable doubt and unanimous. That's pretty good. Is that the same level of scientific confirmation? No, it's not. Scientific confirmation is even more stringent than that. But you cannot operate a society in the standard affairs of humans that way. That's impossible. So people listen to the evidence and they come to a conclusion beyond a reasonable doubt. And the one thing that I think most people understand is there is no such thing as a smoking gun, period. It doesn't exist. It's an illusion, right? There is no piece of evidence that can be presented that cannot be debunked. And those that have watched trials know this. I mean, we've seen plenty of trials in fiction, though they tend to be overly done and way compressed in time. But we've also seen real trials. We've seen a lot of real trials in TV. And what you discover very quickly is there is no witness who can't be undermined. There's no piece of evidence that can't be given an alternative explanation. On and on and on and on. There is no such thing as a smoking gun. But the cumulative effect of 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 pieces of evidence which corroborates can take somebody to the state of beyond a reasonable doubt, in which case the person is convicted. In the scientific community, it's much tougher. In order to establish a fact, a fundamental truth in science, it has to be tested and retested, oftentimes with different types of tests and by different groups of scientists, until it reaches a point where there is essentially certainty in the mind of those who have the greatest knowledge about the subject, and it becomes a law. And then, after it becomes a law of physics, it has to continue to hold up against all evidence that comes forward after that. All tests, new approaches, new information, it has to hold up and hold up and hold up, and it remains a law. That is the way science works. And it has to work that way. Because if science worked on just the level of, say, justice system, beyond a reasonable doubt of 12 people on a juror, there's no way we'd ever make it to the moon. The thing would blow up before it even got off the launch pad. And there's no way we'd ever do the kinds of science that have led to the telecommunications and the computers that we have now. Science has to be absolutely accurate, to a point where so accurate that beyond a certain point it doesn't matter that it might have a flaw. It absolutely works in every case, which is what you have with Newtonian mechanics versus quantum mechanics, right? And so it's about the ET issue. It's really simple. I'm convinced that we have ET technology in our possession because the accumulation of evidence from multiple sources over decades has corroborated that. All right? And so I'm convinced beyond a reasonable doubt. And we say, well, give me an example. Well, this person said this at such a time. Well, what do you know about that person, right? Have you investigated their life in the greatest detail? Have you put out have the FBI investigated them? What have you done there? Edgar Mitchell said that Roswell was a ET craft. It crashed there. Yeah, but what do you know about Edgar Mitchell? Well, yeah, he was an astronaut. So what? He had a PhD in physics. So what? There are PhDs in physics that are lunatics. He walked on the moon. Oh, I don't know. I read on the internet that the moon landings never took place. And on and on. You get my point here?
Yeah, it's just like the criticisms of like David Fravor and his wingman about the Tic Tac object. You know, this guy's a Top Gun instructor, and he knows what he's seeing, and he knows what he's observing and reporting. And I don't think he would go out there and put himself on the line in the public the way that he did, without telling the truth about what he was seeing.
But keep in mind, that is one witness's testifying to one instance. That's all that it is. It is the totality of the evidence. And the government's, one of the government's tasks in maintaining the truth embargo is don't allow this evidence to be amalgamated. In other words, the last thing the government ever wanted and is about to have, willingly, as for a whole lot of high-level David Fravors to sit down at a hearing table in front of a Senate committee under oath with millions of people watching, and one after another telling extraordinary evidence and providing extraordinary evidence in that setting. That is how you reach beyond a reasonable doubt. And that is why efforts for decades to get a congressional hearing were completely blocked. We
But
only had two.
isn't this what you did when you organized the citizens hearing on disclosure in 2013? I mean, it wasn't in
That
front
was,
of Congress, but
it was a mock congressional hearing.
yeah.
And the purpose of it was to give gravitas to the issue, to give a whole bunch of witnesses a chance to testify under oath, mock oath, it wasn't legal, and to do it 2 blocks from the White House. The citizen hearing on disclosure, which cost $700,000, was conducted 2 blocks from the White House and 10 blocks from the Capitol building, 12 blocks from the Capitol building. It was then to show Washington and the people on the Hill, this is what it would look like. This is how it would go, and it went very, very well. It was a mock congressional hearing, but that was 2013. We're going to finally get those hearings 10 years later. That's how hard this is, right? And a number of the people that are going to testify in front of Congress this year testified at the mock congressional hearing, the citizen hearing on disclosure in 2013. But a number of them are not, because they are dead. You see, that's how governments often succeed.
Yeah.
You outlive your opponents. You outlive the activists. You outlive the scientists. In America, that is the preferred way. In other countries, it's really easy. You just murder them, poison them, shoot them, make them disappear, throw them out windows on the 10th floor of their apartment buildings, whatever. We don't do that. But we're better than that. This truth embargo, its persistence, it's just one more black mark on Americans' history. We already have enough of those. We don't need any more. We'll get some more, I'm sure. But this is a particularly nasty one. You see, when we misrepresented the situation in Southeast Asia in a number of ways for a good while and sent hundreds of thousands of our young men there to die, 55,000 didn't come back, that was a black mark. And then the war ended, and we moved on. The Vietnamese forgave us, and now it's a rather popular tourist attraction. And they went communist, and yet the world did not end. And when we misrepresented the situation in the Middle East and sent hundreds of thousands over time of our young men to die there, that was another black mark on American history. And unfortunately, this one kind of continues, right? And there's a lot of little black marks embedded in the bigger black mark. I mean, it's just generally not good. But overall, the wars are over, and we move on. The truth embargo is different. The truth embargo is a lie, preventing the entire human race from knowing that it is not alone in this universe, and not having that extraordinary piece of information plugged into their worldview, which it could have been in 1946 or 52 or 91, so that as the human race decides how many more weapons of mass destruction it's going to build, how many wars it's going to start, how much more it's going to savage the environment, and every other manner of bad behavior it's going to conduct, that piece of information is absent from the equation. The suppressed technology is a whole other issue. God knows what we've lost out there, depending upon how much we learned and to what degree we engineered it. And so essentially, the truth embargo is not a short-term lie that resulted in a bad outcome that finally ended not too many years later. It is a 76-year lie that had to be maintained every single day. And worse, it is a lie about something that is self-evident to anybody that's paying attention. It is a lie in the face of the human race's common sense. It is don't believe your lying eyes. In other words, it has been a consistent diminishment of trust in authority in every nation, some of which needed it more than others, for 75 years. And I have made the case and will make it again that a significant component of the breakdown in trust of the American people and our fine constitutional republic, a very significant percentage of that goes to this truth embargo, which has been an obvious ongoing lie for an entire lifetime. And people say, well, so what? So what? Just look at the landscape. Look at our politics. Look at the country. Look at it all and see how much destruction the failure of trust in government is doing. It is completely shredding this republic. It is undermining it to the point that reporters can't go 15 minutes without saying, you know, looking at the death of our democracy, end of our democracy, the democracy can't survive this, and on and on and on. Not to mention just the awful shit. Trust in government is essential to society functioning. If you don't, you must have an autocratic state. In other words, if you do not have society trust the government, then you have got to threaten them, to hold them, you've got to screen them, you've got to kill them, murder them, suppress them, make them disappear, you have to do whatever you can because they don't trust you. And unless you run over the 900 fist, you cannot rule. In a democracy, that is not the way it works. Trust in government is essential to making it work. And if you don't have a trust in government, unless you're prepared to use that iron fist, all you get is chaos, madness, nutsness. You get high suicide rates. You get high addictions to everything as people try to deal with the cognitive dissonance and stress of a republic that is falling apart under the weight of its own lies. That is part of the reason why the truth embargo is worse than the lies in Vietnam, worse than the lies in Iraq and the Middle East, and other lies that we have done and other black marks. History will see it as probably one of the most egregious things that governments ever did. And governments have done some pretty egregious stuff because of the scope of it, the length of it, and the implications of it. 75 years, we could have known there was an ET presence. And we were told, no, there wasn't. And we were prevented from acting on that information, except within the deep state, I hate that phrase, within the deep underground facilities of our national security structures behind massively classified systems, same with the other countries. Other than that, no, the rest of us, mostly 8 billion people, was like, hey, what can you do? So sorry, right? Leave us alone. It's national security. We've got this, all right? I think history is going to be extremely unkind in general. And in terms of the institutions that failed us, the journalists, the politicians, they're going to be extremely unkind. Well, if people whose place of history is not something they want to be reading down the line in Wikipedia.
Yeah, I mean, a good example of this is here in Michigan in 1966 when we had Project Blue Book here. And if you want to see how these lies can just shut down a conversation and just create huge distrust in a government organization. I mean, 1966, when Hynek went in front of everybody after about 3-4 weeks of massive UFO sightings and Selfridge Air National Guard sending fighters to intercept these UFOs, then turns around and tells everybody it was nothing but swamp gas. That instantly.
Let me stop you there.
Sure.
I actually am working with Paul Hynek. I know him.
Oh, he's.
I know the history there. Okay.
Yeah.
What his father did, he didn't come out and say it was nothing but swamp gas. he was being interviewed, and he was asked to try to discuss this. What are we going on? And he just mentioned, that swamp gas is something that could possibly be confused with this, among other things. It was something I think he regretted, but it wasn't done with, I think, malintent at all. As we know, because of the actions that he took afterwards and all that he did after that. But because of the truth embargo and the government's outrageous policy on this, it was something that the press could seize on and the public could seize on, and they did. It was an example of a pushback, a substantial pushback against the embargo as early as '66. And Dr. Alan Hynek, unfortunately, was at the nexus of that, right? Because he was set up by the goddamn Air Force.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with that.
Set up by the Air Force, just one more victim, like Dr. John Mack, who Harvard University, praise be upon it, tried to cashier because they had the audacity to look into the contact issue. So Harvard's got a black mark there it's going to answer for one day. And if I'm still alive after disclosure, by God, I'm going to see to it they do answer for it. But Dr. Hynek was set up by the government, which he atoned for 1,000 times over.
Yes.
He did later.
But that spiral out of control is an example, or that spiral of distrust is an example of what you were just talking about with the distrust in believing the government because of the lie they want to keep alive.
Of course, but let's actually remember this, though. That event, in general, motivated one of our really great, fine politicians, one of the few truly righteous men that have been in government. I mean, you can crawl Capitol Hill for weeks and not come across a righteous person in government, though they're there. But my God, a lot of them are just hiding out now because the amount of crap, the amount of evil shit that's up on that hill right now, it's almost like you got to stay out of the halls for fear you might run into somebody and they'll knife you in the back. Talking about Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford was impressed enough with that sighting that he went to various people on the Hill and said, we need to have a hearing on this. And as a result, the 1966 hearing was held. It only lasted a day or a half a day. There was a limited amount of testimony, but at least it was held. Okay? And so the Pentagon and the Air Force were watching that going, oh, crap. Now we're having a hearing. Oh, this is not good. We may end up having more hearings. We've got to do something about this. And so they got together in their little dark rooms and they came up with a plan. In 67 and 68, and then in 69, they wrapped it all up. We're not going to have any more of that kind of stuff going on. So they held what amounted to a show hearing in 68, just another half day to let people know, oh, no, we care. One of the outcomes of that was James McDonald, Dr. James McDonald, one of the really righteous scientists of our time, who was in very stressful situation already because of family matters. He was embarrassed in front of the entire committee. They made a fool of him. And that was more than he could take. So he went home and shot himself. Twice. And then, all right.
Make sure he got the job done.
Yeah, job done. He's out of the way. No more him. And then they commissioned the Condon report out of Colorado. Condon goes down in history as an absolute disgrace to science. I would hope his relatives have all changed their name by now. Went in knowing that the thing was real and knowing that the outcome had to be it wasn't, put together the Condon report. They then used that report to shut down Project Blue Book in 69. 66 to 69. Took about 3 years to get it all together. Got that done. One more thing to do. Yeah, that little pesky NICAP, National Investigation Committee on Aerial Phenomena, NICAP, which Hynek, helped create, right? All right, and serve. Had to get rid of that. Well, NICAP, which was run by Keogh by 69, not Keogh. Yes, Keogh. It was so successful and had so many thousands of members, and these were scientists. It had so many scientist members, high-level people, because this was a serious entity in NICAO. This was early now. You're talking about that period from 62 to 69, early on. The truth embargo was still learning its way, getting its chops, as it were. All right. And so these people had joined up early. It actually had members of the CIA on the board of directors. And so when it came time to close it down, it was real simple. The board threw Keogh out, right, claimed financial improprieties, shut down all the field offices, used the money they had to feather their own pockets, and closed it down. Right? I think it was kind of lingered on to like 72. It was ultimately replaced by MUFON 69, right? Around the same time. I mean, prior, as it was closing down and being wrapped up, and everybody knew it was being rolled up, MUFON forms. The history there is interesting, but MUFON is still here. In fact, MUFON's up on the Hill right now doing lobbying. That's what happened back then, all right? So just to give people a picture that there's a lot of dirty laundry here, but let me be clear. Donald Keogh, major hero, should get the Medal of Freedom. Alan Hynek, major hero, should get the Medal of Freedom. Gerald Ford, I think, got the Medal of Freedom, but whatever, one of the things he should be remembered for is the fact that he stood up on this issue when the entire array of his gutless associates in Congress just sat there, you know, staring at the wall, going, I'm not touching this. Of course, they're even more gutless now than they used to be. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go here and we wrap this up, you are speaking at the, as we heard Mr. Nori talk during, while you were not here yet, I played the commercial for Contact in the Desert 2023, and you're going to be speaking there. Can you let people know a little bit about what your presentation is going to be on, and
Sure.
kind of lead us into that a little bit?
First of all, Contact in the Desert, prior to the pandemic, was the premier conference in the country on this issue. Right? Where the focus was virtually primarily on this issue and related subject. It was quite extraordinary. And the pandemic, obviously, it took some serious hits, as did everything else. All right. But it's back. And I think it's going to be the conference this year. And it's going to continue to be the premier conference in the country. It is at Indian Wells Resorts, Renaissance Indian Wells, which is southeast of Palm Springs. So it's a really, really nice resort. That's all I can say. And it in other words, the issue is getting the kind of context that it deserves. I think there are 60 speakers at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot. So it's a huge event. If you can come, you want to be there. But more importantly, there is a very good chance that we will actually have had the hearings that I'm referring to will be underway by June the 2nd, which is when that conference begins. Now, if you can imagine the excitement that will be going on there, if some of the pilots and nuclear weapons tampering witnesses have actually been televised in front of a Senate committee hearing, right? Which is going to electrify the country, and so that could very well happen. So I'm going to be, you know what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about what I'm talking about here, right? Except that I'll certainly be referring to the most recent developments and trying to put things in context in my lecture. I'm going to be, and my thinking is I'm going to be pretty serious on this. I'm going to get pretty intense. I can go either way, but this time I'm going to get pretty intense. And then I'm going to do a workshop as well. Now the workshop is going to be nothing but Q&A. In other words, it's going to be Ask Me Anything. I think a workshop should be everybody gets to work. And so it'll be 2 hours, and people that sign up for that will be talking to each other, and I'll answer any questions, and I'll be asking for thoughts from the people there. and it'll be a back and forth, but 2 hours of them and me doing our thing. Not
Awesome.
another lecture. All right. So, yeah, Contact in the Desert, Renaissance Resort, Indian Wells, doesn't get much better than that. And then I should also mention that I will be speaking in December at another event, which, boy, could be something else. It is called the Ufology World Congress. I'm not a fan of the term ufology, but it's okay. Ufology World Conference, started by a group in Spain. Originally started out way back in 18, I think, and they held it in Barcelona. They have now held a number of them, but they're around the world. In September, there's another one in Barcelona. All right. And they're getting high quality speakers from around the world. This is an international event.
Wow.
But the December event, and it's on my website, you can easily find it, is in Mexico City. Now, let me be clear. The level of interest in this phenomenon, OVNI in Spanish, is probably greater in Mexico than any other country in the world. And I'll extend that down to South America, Central America to some degree, certainly. And Mexico City has got 26 million people. I forget the number. It's a big number.
Yeah.
This could be an absolutely massive event. And the number and what could happen between now and then, I cannot even imagine. All right. All I can say is the issue is going to be in a totally different place. And so go to my website, go to the conferences section, or just Google World Ufology Congress. I don't think the December stuff is up yet, but it will be up soon. Boy, I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure they'll have full consecutive translation with headphones without question.
Oh,
yeah. Whatever. This is an event people need to think about. It'll end the year. It will be in Mexico City, and we could be in another place. We could even have disclosure by then, right? In which case, I can't even imagine what that conference.
You're going to be very busy.
Yeah, but believe me, we deserve to have some fun. We deserve to have conferences with 10,000 people, right? And NBC and CBS cameras roaming and up there and following it down, being blasted out to the rest of the world. We have earned that. We deserve that. And anybody thinks they're just going to show up at the last minute going, okay, we've got this now. Right. Yeah. We have a lot of prestige and a whole lot of background. And I was the dean of this and the president of that. And I haven't said anything prior to this, but I've got this now. They got another thing coming. The people that have carried this water are going to continue to carry this water after disclosure. They're not going to be forgotten. And one of the reasons why I'm working on this project in Los Angeles is to make sure that doesn't happen. That's all I can say right now.
Okay.
I hope more to say on that in the near future.
Well, I want to ask you, do you want to drop a couple names about some of those people that are going to try to come in kind of late in the game and say, hey, we got this? Or I've got some ideas in my head of who those people might be, but, you know, and you don't feel obliged that, you know, to put anything out there, anybody on blast or anything like that. But I've been researching this. I'm new. My wife and I are new to this. Our UFO sighting was in 2018. It terrified the living hell out of us. I've never seen anything like that with my time in the military and my time as a pilot, general aviation pilot, growing up with my dad as a United Airlines pilot. I never saw a 300-foot black triangle hovering above a road before.
You got the triangle. You got the triangle.
Yeah, with the body. The body was made. I couldn't see what the body was because the lights were so bright in the corner. It was hovering right over a major road and intersection of a highway, but the body looked like a heat mirage. I couldn't make anything out. We were that close, and then I heard a voice in my head, "Get away! You don't belong here. You should not be here." And I lost it.
Well, the voice in the head. Yeah, the voice in the head. You didn't need that. Now, the triangle had a light on each point. Was there three lights?
3 lights on each point. They were so bright. and
You couldn't
they
see through it, right? You couldn't see through the main body, right?
couldn't see through the main body. It looked like a heat mirage, like if you were looking over, and this was in March of 2018, so it was cold out. But if you look over blacktop on a hot summer day, that wavering heat effect on bending light is what the body of this thing looked like. So I couldn't get any detail. But one of the things I noticed was, and so did Michelle, and we made our report to MUFON, and we've interviewed people from MUFON on here about this as well, is that it maybe was, um, I would estimate, if I was using my trained observer thing and fingers and all this stuff, it was maybe about 150, 200 feet away and about 150 feet above the ground. And those lights were so bright in those corners, even though the photons were reaching our eyes and it was that bright, it was not casting any light anywhere on the ground at all. And there were other cars going by that didn't even notice it. It was at 2:30 in the morning, and I thought it was an airliner crashing. Michelle's like, when did our military get something like that? She put the window down. There was no sound. And I was like, I don't know. I thought this thing was going to crash. And then the next thing I know is I hear this voice, get away. You don't belong here. Get away.
So what did you do when you heard that voice? Back up?
I gunned it.
So you went forward. You went forward and flew under it? Or drove under it? Rather?
No, I got really, we were on an on-ramp going and doing like a 270-degree turn to get on the expressway heading south. And so I gunned it as fast as I could. I mean, I was driving a very heavy Jeep, you know, so I wasn't going to go very fast. But the response within me was, and I've jumped out of airplanes, I've rappelled out of helicopters, I was in the infantry, for God's sakes. I've never been that scared before in my life. And then I look across Michelle, she's watching it, and I look out the window of the driver or the passenger side, and the thing was facing us kind of like this, okay? And then it does one of these things and starts moving parallel to us along the highway. We lost sight of it for about 3 seconds. When we were able to see that area again, it was just gone.
Okay, you didn't actually see it leave, but it was moving slowly. You had the same. This is what happened to Art and Ramona Bell. One of the reasons that Art got committed to the UFO issue and made it the focus of his show, and to his good credit, he did let the politics in on this subject. He didn't like politics, hated it, but he did allow, which is why I was able to do quite well shows. To his credit, one of those flew right over him. They were out camping. Right now, I don't think they got the message. You don't belong here. I don't think they got that, but it flew right over. Now, obviously, this has happened to a lot of people, and you know, it's like people say, "Well, oh, it's one of ours," which is possible.
I don't buy it. I will never buy that.
And I'm going, oh, if it's one of ours, then you're basically saying that our government has built anti-gravitic craft with incredibly advanced lights that are attached to them, moving, and then lets them move slowly over highways and scare the living hell out of American citizens. That's right. What you're saying, right? That's what you're saying. And doing, and okay, or it could be extraterrestrials in their craft doing what they want, and which seems more likely? More likely. Well, look, it could be both. But the Black Triangle experience is intense. I've talked to people who have had it. You're the first person that I've talked to that got a psychic message or a ESP message. You shouldn't be here, right? Which is interesting. All right. Very notable.
Well, I can tell you something else that happened that could be. I mean, I'm not saying causation and correlation, you know, that whole thing, but about was it a couple months after that I started getting sick. Like something wasn't wrong. I thought I was starting to lose my mind a little bit. Like things, I couldn't sleep. I was getting raised. I figured maybe I was just anxious because I was starting a new school year and getting ready for the ninth graders, and getting ready to
Yeah.
teach science and all that good stuff. And
Yeah.
I was unable to sleep. I couldn't eat. Within like 2 weeks, I had lost like 25 pounds. Um, Everything was going really weird. I couldn't write on my board for the students at all. I didn't know what was going on. And then one day, all of this right here just turned white. I go to the doctors, they do blood tests, and that was a whole joke of a mess. I actually pulled up my own blood test to figure out what was going on. My thyroid had basically turned up to about 10,000. My thyroid stimulating hormone was 0 because my thyroid was out of control. And they said I had Graves' disease, which is hyperthyroidism. And males don't get that. Usually we get hypothyroidism. And
Right.
literally my kids during that time in 2018, when I went away and left, I had to go under treatment for 2 weeks before the medicine would calm my thyroid down. When I went back, they were like, "What happened to your damn beard? It was dark, and now all your hair, everything is white."
Okay.
And
Do you get my email? Do you get my email
I do
updates?
not. I do not,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. I need you to text me after this, please. Text me or email your address. I want to
Okay.
get you on my list. This obviously can't get everybody, but I want to add you. And here's
Okay.
why. All right. I just sent out a media release yesterday, and let me read it to you. All right. The title of the release is.
If this has something to do with triangles, I'm gonna be very upset.
The release was "Wake Up and Connect the Dots." And the
Okay.
reason that I put this out is because as I was just going through this and that and everything else, some things happened connecting up 3 dots for me, which are very important. And so I put this out.
Hey, what's
And
up?
the first, and it basically is 3 articles. One article was published on April the 7th, 2022, and kind of went under my radar because, I'm looking at so many of these. The
Absolutely.
second one was published on April the 4th of this year in the Liberation Times. And the last one was posted in the Washington Post just a few days ago. All right. And so now, hang on a second. Let me just get this up here. Let me bring this up. Okay, and I want to go here. So the first article is entitled, it's the Daily Mail, April 7th, 2022. Here is the lead, or the Daily Mail has what they call long headers. It's all right. Exclusive. They woke up burned or injured. Top brain expert and ex-CIA officer reveals hundreds of military servicemen suffered brain damage or symptoms of the mysterious, quote, Havana syndrome, and even death after encountering UFOs. And it's all about a report that was created and run by Dr. Christopher Green. And when you read it, it's going to register with you in a big way. This is the first article that I'm aware of that has really connected damage to people who get close to UAPs of one shape, form, or another. And it really caught my attention. And I checked on Green, I checked the report. This is just very, very real. All right. And so I recommend this article. It is April 7th, Daily Mail, and it is, I will send you the link to it. Now, the second article is in the Liberation Times about the fact that on March 28th, Kirsten Gillibrand held a hearing in front of her subcommittee. She is the chairman of a subcommittee of the Senate Armed Services Committee. And the subcommittee specializes in potential threats. And Moultrie and Secretary of Defense Austin actually sat to answer her questions. And she asked them both, and one other of the people that were there connected to the DOD, among other things, she asked them about the funding regarding Arrow and why it wasn't getting the money in a timely fashion, the All-Domain Anomalous Resolution Office, which, of course, I think most of your viewers know what that is. And both Moultrie and Austin responded to this, basically saying that, well, it takes time to get these things set up. There's a process, but the funding is going to be put in place. That's never, ever, ever happened before. No Secretary of Defense has ever been asked about this issue in a committee, period. And he gave an appropriate response. And the third article was an absolute brilliant piece in the Washington Post about this young boy, who airman first class in the Massachusetts National Guard, that basically was putting all manner of high-level national security classified material out to a gamer group that he was essentially the big cheese in. And the reason I put this out and labeled it Wake Up and Connect the Dots is that these three articles, in a way, sum up for me why the truth embargo is a dead lie walking. You have a major article a year ago, which is finally starting to show that people get close to ETs and UFO craft, UAP craft, are getting damaged, military and civilian. Then you have an article that says that the Department of Defense, the Secretary of Defense, is being queried on this issue and giving, intelligent responses about the program that's being set up. And then you have another article that shows that this massive, ever-ending, classified world that we've created, it classifies everything, including how much toilet paper is used in the Pentagon. The endless stuff that we have created in all these systems simply cannot sustain itself. It is filled with holes. It is filled with leaks. You cannot keep this stuff secret, particularly when you classify as much as we do. It's all falling apart. And so a 21-year-old airman first class is dumping the highest quality secrets into a gamer group online, and the Department of Defense doesn't even find out about it until a month after he starts doing it. And so anybody who thinks this truth embargo can continue is out of their goddamn mind.
Yep.
And so I bring this to your attention because I think you'll find this article. And,
okay, how would I go about, should I just go to your website and find your contact information there?
Yeah, just email me. You have my email. Email me your email address. I'll send you a link directly to this.
I do not have your email.
PRG at ParadigmResearchGroup.org. Look, I'll make this happen. But again, if let's see, how does this work? If you go to ParadigmResearchGroup.org,
mm-hmm.
and you go to under About, you will see a link for the PRG updates. If you click on that link, hang on a second, it takes you ultimately to the let's see, where is it here? Why don't I have this? Email updates. Under About, under ParadigmResearchGroup.org, you go to under About, or About PRG rather, and then you click on email updates. You go on through, right, to the main archive, and you will see a link directly to this. Just a second.
You can subscribe to PRG updates here. That one?
You can subscribe at the website. Yeah, you can subscribe to it, but you don't have to subscribe to go through to the updates archive, and you will see the link to the press release, the media release I just put out called "Wake Up and Connect the Dots."
Okay.
So this article is intense. John Burroughs, whole life was disrupted because he came close to that craft at Anderson. And you've got other famous cases, but what we didn't know is that plenty of people in the military are getting effects by this, and the effects are similar to quote the Havana syndrome. Now, again, that is just a name now that is attached to the idea that you're getting
Right.
significant impacts on the brain and so forth from what appears to be radiation, all right, of some kind or fashion. But this article is the first one that broadened it to UAP. And then the study, of course, is available, green study. And so now things are getting really serious.
Yeah.
All right. And so guess what? If UAP inadvertently, without malintent, are harming the health of people all over the world, then it would be helpful if the governments of the world would inform the public of this, acknowledge their existence, and say, don't get close to these things. Okay?
Right.
I know this sounds crazy, but actually it's pretty common sense. And it's
Yeah.
one of 1,000 reasons why this embargo has got to end. And this year it can end. And I encourage people to commit themselves to that. Start sending all the praise they can to the legislators in any country, wherever they are, saying, look, if you're doing something about this, you have my full support, that kind of thing. And give them, again, license to proceed. They want to get this done, I believe. But again, it's not easy, and they have to sort of follow some protocols. But as long as we let them know it's the right thing, they will get this thing done and get it done this year. So let me get those links to you, Wayne, and thank you for your time.
Yeah. So just real quick, so you have my email address. It's mi.ufo.podcast@gmail.com. Very easy.
mi.ufo.podcast
At Gmail.
at Gmail. Okay, well, you'll get the link right away.
Yeah, and I would like to stay in touch with you about specifically like this issue. And I know Gary Nolan has talked about studying the health effects of these things as well. So and that's something I'm very interested in. So, all right. So everybody out there, if you want to find more from Mr. Bassett, go to paradigmresearchgroup.org, and his website is phenomenal. Tons of information. But I think with that, Stephen, I want to say thank you very much. And if you want to talk more about our experience that Michelle and I had, I would be more than happy to do that with you offline at some point. So, all right. Thank you very much, Stephen. And we will talk to you again, hopefully soon. Take care.
Anytime. All righty. Bye.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Whew. For him not showing up at first, this turned into one hell of an interview. I don't know what to make of everything yet, but I think I need dinner. I think that's part of the problem. And I think Michelle does too. She's starting to like chew my foot off here. So, all right, everybody, we're gonna wrap this up. And man, crazy. I don't know. Crazy. That's all I can say. All right, everybody, we're out of here. So thank you very much. And remember, keep those eyes to that sky.
Yo, I'm gonna take a shower real quick. I'm gonna take a shower real quick. I'll be right back. I'll put on first floor audio for us.
No, Lee, I don't have to pop off to get the charger.
What's that, mate?
Hold on. Is my charger there? I just need to go and pop and get my phone.
Hey, don't you wave your plastic at me, pal. don't you wave your plastic.
Hold on, I'll plug myself in.
It's kind of like there's 3 separate shows going on here tonight. Everybody just kind of doing their own thing.
There is, yes.
But that's
There is.
that's the
yes,
beauty of it.
Yes. I'll tell you what I've got to do. Right, I've got to. Whoa! This vehicle is reversing. This vehicle is reversing. Please stand clear.
Grandmaster.
You got to get a running start for that pole vault.
Indeed, that's what it is. I've told him as well. No more breakdancing as well.
Remember, the sharp end goes forward. The sharp end points forward, Stephen. And if you miss, don't go toward the light.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Stay away from the light. It's so beautiful.
Get away from the light, Carol Ann.
It's Grandmaster UV. Hey, doggy. Are you coming on, are you, mate? Because you was on about coming on, weren't you?
I'm back.
Yes, it's Guy Lil Foy. You're exactly right. Eleanor.
There's Eleanor. Eleanor's
Yeah.
joining
Do you know
us.
what I'm going to do?
We can start the show now. We've already had to start it twice because Eleanor wasn't here.
That's what it was. That's it. That's what it was. Put me off.
That was the secret ingredient.
That was the secret ingredient. And
Hi,
it's all messed up.
Eleanor.
Now listen, JD's and Letterman, if you could kindly share this show out, we could get a few more people in here to watch how great I mean, the show.
I put it on Facebook and to a couple of groups that I'm in.
Don't I just make the effort for all you lovely people? Don't I just make the effort, yeah? I try really hard to impress, but I know I get it wrong all the time. All the time. 'Cause I'm not perfect like you, David Hunt. I'm not perfect like you, my friend. Or like Eleanor Young, the wolf. Eleanor Young, the wolf. I bet I'm getting her last name wrong. I usually do. I bet I'm getting her last name wrong. I usually do. But never mind. 'Cause I don't really care. Why should I anyway? 'Cause she's not here on the show when I invited her. And I'm just about to cry now, 'cause it's really affected me. Not really, 'cause I don't really give a shit. Not really, 'cause I don't really give a shit. Yet. But when she comes on, I will be very polite. 'Cause that's just the kind of guy I am. I just thought I'd get the old man voice out there at the end. That's what happens when you start again. Oh, what you love. That's how it should sound by now. So, if anybody wants a song, or to be embarrassed,
Or both.
or both, yeah. Don't skank or skanks. We've had this chat before. Steve's fallen out of his chair. I think he's fallen asleep.
Oh, I thought you talking to me. I'm like, no, I haven't.
You going numb, are you, Stephen? Charging. Yeah. How much is it charging you?
He's giving you the thing.
50p a minute, is this the cat? Oh, Mr. Cat. Oh, look, Mr. Catfish. There he is. Look. Oh, look, there he is. Oh, he's all right because he's elephant.
No, Lee, when my head's
Yeah, that was
lit
fixed.
this way, it means I'm looking at my phone.
Yeah, yeah. Excuses,
Not-
excuses, mate. Your head's
Oh,
on your blooming shoulders,
mate,
so you
what
fall
do you
asleep. I
mean?
know, mate. I know how tiresome I am. There's no need to point it out, mate.
Lee, look at the screen. Give me a second.
Lee, sing me. Lee, sing. I'm the scat man. I'm the scat man. Skrba, scat.
What's your screen? In 3, 2, 1.
Oh, what?
Oh, look at you.
The
You
pocket
just love
box
it, don't
is
you?
open.
Oh, hang on a
Pocket
minute.
box
We've
is
got a
open.
couple of things going on here, right? Hang on a second now, because all of a sudden we've got a couple of things. And I've done nothing, really. Wait till we start singing the cover version of TikTok. You'll think, God, that geezer's all right, you know.
See, you were saying something.
Sing something, he says. Sing to me. Listen, Mr. Tenor, who gave me it, right? Have this thank you thing, right? You're getting it now. You're getting it. You're getting a thank you thing now, all right? Okay? All right? What do you reckon of that then, mate, eh? That's thanks to,
I
to
like
our,
that
to
one, I
our,
like
our Cashy
I'm
Chris.
back.
I like
Very
that.
nice of her, isn't it?
Yes.
Back.
Cosmic neighbours. Fancy seeing you here, Rob. Blimey.
At least I got some clothes on.
Rob. Right, hang on a minute, because we got. No, I've got to say the other thank you. Hang on a minute. Right, hang on. It's not all about you, Stephen. Because look,
Excuse me, I've never said
Mr.
the word.
Catfish, and he's getting a little thank you now. And watch this, mate. I'm that kind of guy. I like sharing. You know this. Right. Ready? Very much.
Thank you.
Dong, put my ding dong.
Well, alright.
Put my
Alice.
ding dong. my ding
That's
dong.
very nice.
It's very nice. It's very nice.
Very nice,
Listen, Mr.
yeah.
Catfish.
It's very nice.
I got
Very
something
nice.
to
I
say
like
to
it very
you.
much.
It's a little song I'd like to call.
Catfish special today.
I like it very much. I like it very much.
Stop laughing at me. to some popular-ish songs later. But as you know, I'm more into the 80s than I really should be. But you couldn't imagine me doing anything modern with my clothes on. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. All this modern stuff with their clothes on really doesn't suit me with my belly. So I avoid it like the plague. Bad choice of words, but yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna have to get the clap sorted again, ain't I? But I don't like itching. Anyway, I need a drink.
Have a little drink, Pooh.
Does anybody want a song?
It puts hairs on your chest, Lee.
Good stuff, huh?
Oh, mate, I've got some hairs on my chest, man, mate, I'll tell you now. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're proper and everything. I've got one about the size of my fist. Oh, hello, William Carr.
Oh, it's William. Hello, William Carr.
William.
Well, it's better than being Harry, I suppose. But anything's better than being Harry at the moment, isn't it? Anyway.
I got a bit of frostbite on the old Todger, apparently, when he went skiing. Did you hear about that?
Yeah? Never mind.
I can't get that picture out of my head. How would you do that while you were skiing, unless you were...
Well, it's because he decided that he was going to be at minus 40 or whatever and take a whizzle.
I thought maybe he was skiing with it out.
Oh.
Eleanor, anyway, I've given you an invite. If you choose to come on board, be prepared to be the butt of Stephen's jokes. Because it would never be mine. You're Scottish, what do you expect?
Oh, well.
Yeah, D-Rock, you're right. Nude skiing, mate. It's probably the way forward, isn't it? To get a frozen cocksure of yourself and everything.
Oh, I can't believe you said that.
D-Rock, D-Rock, D-Rock. Something that I will never get again. D-Rock, D-Rock. D-Rock. Something that Harry will never get again. I wonder if it turned black and then fell off. I wonder if you picked it up and put it in a bag. I wonder if these tried sewing it back on. Probably not. Free circumcision. Free circumcision. Free circumcision. Don't feel sorry for Harry boy. You know he chose to drop his caca. It's hard to think of any words to go with your short ass name. D-Rock, 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 D-Rock.
Some food, John John? Here you go, buddy.
Scared away the
Mike,
birds.
if you don't mind, can I ask you a
Bing bong. Oh, it's not playing.
To report this as a charge weather conditions.
question?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
Can wait a second. I brought you into.
I think she's gonna put her back.
I create. Being.
under oath.
Works hard and she's trying to go. Let's leave this.
There's 100 boys after she speaks, please, because after she
A video we've been on a bit for USBs. Vicious Kirsten Gillibrand can be, and that is a good thing. Find the freaking controls here.
Nice title frame.
Who is being
face like that?
Oh, I know. It's just the first things. No, this is not the blow-up doll of Kirsten Gillibrand. This is the real one, and you're going to see shortly. We're going to have to find out what the original source of this. Let's go ahead.
It would suck to have a boss like Kirsten Gillibrand, let me tell you. I would piss my pants every time she would try to talk to me.
Yeah, you know, I have to say in my life, the best bosses I have ever had have mostly been women. I've had one good boss who was a guy. Steve Lee. I can't say his name, but I've had one good boss who was a guy. But beyond that, some of the best bosses that I've had in my career have been women, and I've got one now, and I am so happy and pleased. You know, very attentive, very attention. The last thing you want to do, you don't want to piss them off. Not that my current boss or my former bosses would ever get that way, but it gives you an incentive to be a good employee. Now, this is an example of Kirsten Gillibrand being...
Thomas, wait, can I, before you start this, now I've had a chance to hear it while you were kicking off. Can we have a poll after this clip's played? And I want to find out how many people are cowering in their chairs like little schoolboys after she speaks, please. Because I know when you played it before we sat pre-show, I was cowering in my seat.
God, where did I do with my glasses? Hold on. Let's get this here. I need to go into here really quick, get across back to QuickTime. Can I tell
She is, I think, possibly the best person we could have.
I agree, Andy.
Doing this committee. Oh my God, she's a
beast.
lovely looking lady. She's So
I'd love. You know what I would really.
I think honestly, I think she's gonna put Kirkpatrick under oath as like a surprise.
You know what I would like to have, though? Seriously, I would love to have Kirsten Gillibrand sitting next to Tim Burchett and have those two tag team off each other, literally.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
we got...
the person who's going to ask the salacious questions is going to be Tim Burchett. And then if there's bullshit answers coming, this is how Kirsten... Or what he needs to do is just bring Kirsten Gillibrand this clip and just play it up for the speakers whenever they're not answering right. Let's listen to this.
Who is being held accountable for doing nothing since 2013? Who? Which commander? Who is being held accountable for doing nothing since 2013? Who? Which commander? Who is being held accountable for doing nothing since 2013? Who? Which commander?
Damn.
Which
Now,
commander? Which commander?
I love it. I love the passion and more importantly, beyond the passion, I love the freaking fury coming out of that woman. My God. And she doesn't overdo the makeup. Doesn't get a lot of sun because she works hard and she's trying to go good. Now, here's the thing. She's going to be, you know, if she cracks this bitch open, meaning ufology, not her, and she cracks it wide open and starts finding how big, deep the cover-up is, what a great intro for a presidential run if she goes after. But then again, she'll be coming up against Nikki Haley. Let's see where that goes. But my God, good for her. Let's go ahead now. Let's leave this playing in the back. Now, doesn't touch my soul. How can I know this pattern but not know at the same time? How can I know this pattern like my neighbor but not feel like I've been seeing it for weeks, like the circle pattern? Right? We recommend seeing this. We saw the color changing and different things going on. As I'm realizing what I'm seeing, I'm experiencing chime. I get an alert on my cell phone in the other room. More on that later. So here I am. In a cocoon of nostalgia and calculation, the movement of the object is no mystery to me. I've been told it by
that she landing east that
like what?
Where is the commander?
I don't think they would sign their name onto something like that if they thought it was gonna end up being a condom report type deal.
Andy,
Who's cowering behind there?
let's go ahead now. Let's leave this playing in the back. Now,
Who is being held
what is
accountable
the
for
survey
doing
again?
nothing since
Andy
2013?
again?
Who? Which commander? Who is being held accountable for
Andy.
Who's cowering behind their in their seats, like naughty little school children?
RGB for short. Notice the white in the center. From the video at 1 minute 5 seconds 35 seconds, Ross said he is legit. He has it right there. Is a white light.
Who's responsible for doing nothing? Which commander?
At this point, I know exactly what I'm looking at. I'm sorry, Chris, but my red flag alarm went way off when you legitimately.
Which commander doing nothing with the UFO? Which commander?
Analysis make. I'm not trying to be a trolley skeptic. I want to see the truth where there is truth. I am gently prompted, UFO Twitter, for a response via a popular account just to try to be open-minded. Maybe someone sees that can open my eyes, right?
Jeez, this guy. Can he get
Yes.
to the point?
Seems strange that a person who witnessed a UFO would then turn off the camera so fast. The guy doesn't turn around or anything. And we've heard when Nikki X1 was seeing stuff, how he was reacting. Oh shit, holy fuck. You know, there's a great dialogue going on. And when you're seeing things, maybe people could be paralyzed kind of, but you never know. This guy,
Well,
Tekken
this guy's
fight.
not matching up to the testimony of the guy who gave the video, but we can discuss
Yeah,
that.
even though I know what I'm seeing, you see my internal dilemma here. I'm trying to be fair, open-minded, and analytical, and also do not live in denial about what I already know. How does this information fit into a story that makes sense? I respect Ross Coulthard. I have considered Leto's and video analysis to be logical, likely mind-opening for people who have never considered perspective and psychology, and how they both play into a split-second life and death moments. But I know what I'm seeing. Help me. At this time, I'm replaying Chris Leto's video frame by frame, a minute 5. Anonymous, autistic, and does not like crowds. Interesting. I wonder if
Whose commander is autistic? Whose commander?
and he's camping in the Australian outback in the middle of nowhere. Explains that there are no witnesses, none. And you've heard of the Australian outback, right? We all have. I don't have a question. The vastness, the emptiness, the lack of witnesses. Remember how my phone chimed earlier when I was on my research? Well, and I searched camera lens mount. Why is he looking at a camera lens mount? Well, let's get on to this, shall we? Something looks very familiar, but wait, there is more to that. Remember how I've been seeing this for weeks? Well, look at that. He's looking at the back of a lens. I have the same
could have been
lens.
said in the second tweet, but anyway.
I have the same lens. I checked. It's the same lens. It's the Minolta Maxim 50 millimeter 1 to 1.7. And at least that's what mine is. There are probably many Minolta lenses with a similar mount. Yes, West?
Well, we have the EXIF data from the video, and it was shot on a cell phone.
No.
Yes.
The cell phone was not taking the picture. This lens is what was used to shoot the light through, and that's what we were seeing illuminated at the bottom of the object.
Okay.
So if you see you're going to be getting into this. Some of the shapes that we see here and the different things that didn't make sense in the object are repeated in the back of this lens mount. So if you have the lens mount, you're shooting a light from it from the top. And there's illumination going on for whatever they did on this platform, potentially. You see it? So he's showing the overall shape of the object. I mean, you can't see my mouse moving here because it's blocked a little bit. Let's move it up. If you see it, what he's talking about is the shape on the inside of the lens, identically lining up with the lens, lining up to the object that we're seeing. How about now? There's another one showing where this particular part of the lens here perfectly lines up with the object, what we're seeing at the bottom right corner of the lens. This guy did some good research. Still not sure? Showing another part of the object is similar to that particular piece. How about this part? Well, we've got that there, we've got that there, we've got the outside ledge, we've got the inner line and the whole thing. What he's showing is there's a remarkable resemblance between the highlights that were on the bottom of the object here to actually the bottom of a Minolta lens.
But wait, Thomas, go back. Those don't line up. Look at the diameters of those. They're not lining up at all. The inner diameter is so much, or the diameter of those two outer circles are super close. They're not on that lens.
I have to agree with West on this one.
Yeah, it's dang close though.
It's not, the dang close is not the same as this is a match. And I think we have to give some credence to the fact that it's not a match and that the guy's story may have some merit.
It could be.
Say definitively one way or another. That's the
But it could be. So again, looking at that little object there where the screw is, again, the little thing that we've got off the side, there is the exact screw. Depending on how the lens is opened or closed and what's going into it, there's just a preponderance of a bunch of things that look very similar going against it. And I'm not trying to be a debunker. From a technical person who's a software developer who looks at code and runs a team of a lot of programmers on a regular basis and does a lot of hardware stuff, from building stuff from scratch to everything.
Similarity in a lot of the different points.
Similarity in a lot of the different points. Not that I'm trying to go ahead and throw anything under the bus. Pieces that are aligning. I'm going to have to go into Photoshop and go ahead and do some alignments. But what he's kind of showing here for some of the pieces, it is close. If you look at this particular piece where it's at here, you have the highlight on that part of the lens. You've got that kind of stuff going there. It's just a matter of understanding how close or is not close is it. Is it completely flat? Is it on an angle? It's something that's going to have to, if we can say, hey, this is a UFO and this is something that was trying to capture a guy and bring it out, bring it on. But you have to take a look at all evidence and understand that potentially, remember, 95% of all UFO data we look at is either misunderstood or it's purposely faked. Not that I'm trying to throw this under the bus and say, hey, it's a fake. Hey, it reminds me of stuff that I've seen underneath the saucer, except wasn't changing colors of lights like that. It was more solid. But either way, it's interesting to say the least. But there was just too many parts of the geometry that kind of line up with the shapes of what we're seeing.
Well, I would just recommend, from my counter point of view, is just people should check out Chris Lato's latest video where he interviews the guy, so you can actually hear the guy tell his own story. And he also goes over Ross Coulthart's notes from when Ross Coulthart interviewed the guy, and that they express some good critical thinking about this. It's not like they're just fanboys trying to claim that this guy's legit. They really are looking into it. But he also goes into some interesting things about the optics, and so it's worth watching. And
all right, some people want me to go ahead and replay it. Let me go back to, it's going to screw up that for whatever reason it is. Final Cut Pro has taken over one of my screens on accident. I don't know if I can go ahead and I can probably show it from the timeline here. Let's go ahead and bring up that video and just say okay. And if I go back, I've got it partially stabilized. I've not gone back to it. So here we've got the object initially when it's small, buggering around the actual space. And I've taken the image and stabilized it so we can see what it's looking like from its particular piece. And I can see how the color's shifting from one color set to the other color set. And I showed a video. I've got a Ryzen one of their coolers they have for their higher end CPUs. And the color pattern like that looks similar to what I'm seeing even on internal fans coming from today's blinky PCs. So,
but he describes it too as not some of this. Leto actually digs into, and some of this is actually caused by the camera. It's not the colors that the actual thing was giving off, according to the witness.
Right.
And
Now,
so-
here's the thing. If you have a camera like a Psionics, it takes the colors of what you'll be seeing and it actually turns them to different colors. He did not have that. He was using a cell phone camera.
Right.
Usually when you record things on a cell phone camera, when I've recorded orbs that were orange, they come out more white than, or you'll see one thing in your eye and it's more white and more orange, but when it gets into the sensor, it loses its color. And that's
exactly right. That's exactly what
like if you have a camera in night vision mode and you hold up a TV remote in front of it and press any of the buttons, you see it light up like a light.
Or you can just hold up an iPhone to a regular camera, and a lot of times you'll be actually seeing the lights from it getting recorded on the camera.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we can't see it, but, you know, the sensors and the camera can. So just throwing that out there.
No, those are great points, and that's actually stuff that Chris brings up. And even when you get close, like right there, stop for a second. There's some lens flare, and in the lens flare, you can actually see right there those 3 dots. There are certain scenes where you'll see those dots actually change to be like red, green, and right like that. And Chris was describing how he thinks that's actually the camera's Bayer filter that is giving us that lighting effect, and it's because the sensor is overloaded from the light source.
The brightness of the image. Or what we're really looking at is a bunch of LEDs around the outside of an object that are changing color over time. So either one or the other.
Maybe, but the go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Larry.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to mention that the witness said that this thing was about 100 meters wide, and it came down. Isn't that right, West?
Yeah, he said when he thought it was a couple of stories above him, and it was about as wide as a house. He also, just for context, you know, this guy at the beginning of his novel War and Peace that he wrote us to describe why he's going to debunk this, he talks about why did the guy not turn around and look. The guy was laying in a lawn chair out in the middle of the outback and saw this thing for a couple of minutes, and then finally dawned on him, I should grab my phone. He grabs his phone, and so he's actually on his back basically with the phone pointed straight up in the air at the object. And so when the object disappears, he said it literally just flew away. He couldn't see it anymore. So he wasn't standing up and looking at this object so that he could turn around. He was in a lawn chair. He had no way to move.
And he described the way that it descended upon him, down upon him.
Yeah, I mean go ahead. Keep going.
It was getting bigger and bigger, and it got very close to above his head.
Yep, and then the sound it makes too is really odd. And he said he said it was something more that he could feel, and he also described that when it was over him, when it came down low, he suddenly had a real hard time staying awake. He felt like he was getting lightheaded and had this sense of euphoria, and then it took off and vanished. So
he went inside and went to bed.
Yeah, and then
like
he just
the programming thing.
Well, what did he go inside?
It reminds you of the Oregon one where they saw that spinning cube. I think we brought that up, right? Where they took the photo and then they just kept watching like nothing happened, and then forgot about it. And then when they're looking through their camera again,
another interesting thing is that they asked him about lost time. He didn't understand what they meant, but he described this happening around 10:30 at night. But the data on his phone shows that it happened at 1:30 in the morning when he recorded this. So it's possible that there was lost time, and this is someone who
got abducted.
Well, and he's actually been, he claims had to have been abducted before when he was a child. So there's elements to the story that, you know, that could either make it more credible for some people or less credible for some people. But I think it's worth knowing the context of all this.
You know,
some guy who went out in the desert just to try to get some attention, I don't think.
Wes, you know what I hate about this guy and the way he's debunking? He makes a whole story out of it, and it's like a gotcha moment type.
Yeah, he's trying to sound like he's
well, there's not a lot you can do in a couple hundred characters. And if you want to go ahead and tell a story and bring up the stuff, it's taking him through the mindset of what he did when he was looking at it. And he was trying to, like any writer, go ahead and take someone down a path of where his thought and process was. That's what I appreciated versus saying out, here's where it is, here's the whole thing. He said, I looked at it. It felt familiar to me. And he kind of walked down his logic that brought him down to that point. I actually appreciated that kind of, if you want to call it, insight to the process of what brought him to what he was actually seeing and what he was trying to understand.
But if he's going to debunk it, he should give the same courtesy to the people who he's debunking, because his context makes, because if he had just presented his conclusion right off the bat.
But this came out before the guy came forward and was further interviewed by Leto. This was actually right after the video that Leto had posted on there, before even the video came out that was HD, that had the sound effects that sounded like some kind of electrical device.
But Thomas, he knew Leto was going to post more information about it. He should have waited. Instead, he took this as a chance.
There's no reason to wait. If you see something and you understand it, take it for where you see it at that point in time and move forward with it.
Fair enough. I mean, it's for us to make our own judgments.
Yeah, and everyone can take their own judgment. I'm taking this out there. I'll take it in the center. It could be. It may not be. But from someone who's knows about patterns, and you have to recognize patterns, and if you find something that aligns to a pattern you understand, you have to take it for every particular possibility and throw it out there to saying, well, possibly this could be where it's at. And I don't want to debunk anything, honestly. I want to be able to look at information. You know, do I look at the stuff that was brought forward compared to what Nick Wurst will do? Nick doesn't even come close to what this guy did to try and bring forward, to try and bring out something to say, hey, I recognize this, and throw out the information to see if other people, to see where his logic is. Larry?
Yeah. So if you're going to debunk something like this, you also have to debunk the witness. You have to come out and say that the witness created a hoax using this camera, and he knows it was a hoax, and
he's not.
You have
He's
to come out and say
I
that
recognize the pattern. This is what I'm seeing. Leave the rest for everyone else to figure it out. If you want to say a person's is complete, you know, he's saying take it, you know, look at this and consider it. He's saying this is not the definitive answer. He's trying to take an additional pile of information, push it out to the public, and let the people discern what this possibly could be or couldn't be.
Well, I was not at all impressed with the correlation that he was trying to make. Sorry.
That's okay. Everyone sees things differently. I'm just trying to bring forward people who have said, hey, can you go ahead and cover this and what went on and everything. And this is part of that overall piece that was out there. And again, trying not to throw shade towards anybody. I'm just someone who recognizes patterns and understands them and wanted to throw this out there for the audience. Now, here's the thing. When we went and we covered this the other day, let me go ahead, see if I can find the results. The number of people who saw this one and actually thought this one was actually legit was not a high percentage of the audience. Let me see if I can find the pictures on that one, because I know I take a screenshot of every.
Michael's got his hand up for like an hour.
Michael, take it, my friend.
Something real quick to West's point.
No, I know Michael's Sokoloff actually has his hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Michael.
So
Sorry.
I've watched this video. I believe the guy. It's a real incident. You know, just because if you take a picture of the sun and you see a lens flare, does that mean the sun is fake? I mean, you get any light in your camera, you're bound to get, at a certain angle, you're bound to get lens flares. So
it wasn't about the lens flares. It was basically saying if you take the Minolta lens, you turn it down, you put the light coming through the lens from the outside coming in. That's what we're kind of looking at here. It's not like we're saying it was done on a Minolta. It's just the shapes that we're looking at lines up with a Minolta.
yeah, well, when the color changes, it's not like it's being swapped out by a card or a lens. It's like it goes through a blending sort of process.
Right. Now, if I bring this up, and this is what and the reason I'm bringing this up, because when we showed the video the first time, talking about the new UFO video coming from Leto, right? Where did our audience land? 29% of our audience said it was real. 44% not sure. 26% of the audience said it was a fake. So the amount of people who thought it was real was one. The other part that thought it was a fake was another. And the one who were not sure was clearly in the middle. Right now, I'm still in that not sure category. I'm not trying to push people out here and say it's a fake. I'm just trying to bring up and show the pattern that's saying, hey, this pattern that we're seeing on the bottom object really closely lines up with a Minolta lens.
Well, the real convincing part is his testimony.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what I was trying to say.
West?
I think one thing, this is just more of a general comment, for when we entertain alternative ideas about sightings. I think we need to hold the people who come up with these alternative hypotheses to a higher standard. I don't think it's sufficient that they can give us just some things that look similar and then make us do the work of trying to imagine that, yep, I guess that could be it. I think
it's more than imagining. He's doing frame by frame by frame, showing different areas where the images are aligning.
Well,
now,
but
if we think it doesn't align, that's fine.
But no, if we're critical thinkers, we'll notice that the measurements don't line up at all. But what I'm trying to say is I think that we should stop giving a free pass to the debunkers by letting them have a lower threshold of proof than we are asking for the UFO evidence. In other words, if you're going to debunk this video, remake the video with your hypothesis and show us that it looks the same. If it does, then there you have it. If you can't remake the video, then I'm not going to necessarily give you the benefit of the doubt. That if I put everything together,
invest a lot of money and a lot of technology to go ahead and do it. If someone sees something that looks fishy, I appreciate them going and bringing the stuff.
But my point is just like
Wes, there are plenty of people out there who lie about their experiences with UFOs, unfortunately. And they do it for monetization, they do it for fame and everything. Not saying that this guy did that. Only reason I brought it up is because the patterns that he was showing of one next to the other, for me, it leaves a question mark. Not saying I'm pushing it off in the fake area. I'm not pushing off in the real area. I'm still in the center saying not sure, like the rest of the majority of our audience was.
Wes, this reminds me of the bokeh thing of what Mick West does, right?
Exactly. That's my point. That's exactly my
Bokeh wasn't mentioned once.
No, wait, Thomas. My point is that we see Mick West do this all the time, where he throws out something that he thinks is probable enough, but he doesn't ever demonstrate that it really actually would do what he says. In other words, we need to be more critical of these so-called skeptics, because we sit here and we all talk about the fact that we know that this is real. Yet at the end of the day, whenever people show us evidence of it, we end up aligning ourselves with people who are lazy half the time, which is Mick West. And we should be holding them to, I'm just saying, to a higher standard and say, if you're going to submit a counter argument to this video, please do so in a way that would convince a jury. And I don't feel like most of these are doing that. I feel like they're doing half the work and then just resting their case like I did a mic drop, which is what that guy did. His whole story, I'm sorry, was a giant let me do my mic drop at the end for attention. And that's not a viable way
Then
for us to
maybe what should have gone on is Chris Leto and Ross Coulthart shouldn't have said anything until they could bring out the interview and bring out the stuff all at once. Why did they rush it out versus getting all the facts and making it happen? We said the same about this guy. Why didn't it happen from the other side? Why did they rush it out so fast? What was there? Why did they have to get it out there immediately? Was it for clicks, or was it for bringing forward the truth without being able to bring forward all the information at once that could help people understand this? Remember, this was put out before it was saying, here's what the guy is. He doesn't like to do anything. We don't have any audio from him or anything. And this video was originally put out, and when this analysis was done, before the video was even dropped with audio on the background. And then there was another video that came out that even had better audio. So the question is, if people are going to have videos of UFOs and there's experiencers, this is a two-sided affair where the people who are bringing out the information should do their due diligence and don't bring it out yet. Bring out as much information, gather as much information as they can. And then when they've been able to go ahead and see exactly it's completely clear, then bring forward the information. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I just want to say I respect you very much for having this debate with me. So that I agree with your point 100%.
Okay, I'll jump in here. Let's see, what was I going to say?
I got to take care of Cupcake for a second. You guys have the helm. And I'm not trying to be a dick, or I'm not trying to
Thomas, I don't
under a bus or anything. I'm just trying to bring forward some additional stuff where if the patterns line up, we have to dig deeper.
Well, and my only point is, real quick, Larry, is just Thomas, before you run off. Oh, well. When he comes back.
So speaking of patterns, okay, guys. One of the patterns that I have picked up on in UFO reports is that people say that when they see objects like this, the colors that they're seeing are colors that they have never seen before. And that's a weird thing to say because pretty much we've seen every color. But you always hear this comment. And in fact, the guy who saw this thing made that exact same comment. That was a tell for me. That was a tell that he was a good point. That he was telling the truth, and it really sounded sincere to me. So,
me too.
Larry, I agree with you, Larry.
But you know what's weird, Wes, is what I don't like about this guy was how he tried to sound like he was like on our side, like a believer, right?
Say that again.
What I don't like about this guy is he tried it in the beginning. He was like, "I'm a believer too. Look at me, guys."
I don't know if I caught that part of the interview. I guess
in the beginning, not in the interview. The debunker.
Oh, the debunker.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he was like,
Thomas, I've got a professional trick for you here, right?
Yeah.
You know when you go off to Hoover, mute.
Sorry. That's okay. It was important. I had to get in the spot that was it quickly. So anyway, really quick thing here. The only reason I'm going and bringing this up is what I'm seeing here for the images doesn't align to what I saw as a kid. I didn't see a rainbow RGB wonderful lit object that was changing colors in the sky and everything. I had the place flooded with a white light that should be so bright that you should be blinded from it, but it had this soft aspect and it gave you that. Didn't feel sleepy or anything from it. And when I got to the spot where the light was, the white was light. The object above was not lit up like that. It was a single beam coming down and had these gold kind of flecks or things kind of moving around within it. That's my only point, is saying what I'm seeing here doesn't align to my memories. My memories could be off, but I can tell you what, it wasn't a light that was coming in RGB, cycling through colors like it's a fancy fan from AMD in your PC.
And that's what the guy said too. That's what he said. He said the video does not align with what he saw. He said the same thing you said. He said it was a white light that was super bright but didn't hurt his eyes. And he described it very similar to what you're describing. He said,
I should never have said that. Just being honest.
Well, but let me just say real quick, I just appreciate
That's
the fact that
another-
we can have these debates and be friendly. So thank you for the opportunity.
that Thomas and West, that bright light that is, you would think blind you, but it doesn't. That is also been reported for the last 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I don't know where the RGB is coming from with it. Well, hopefully, you know what? We'll have more sightings of these objects, because it just shouldn't be happening to one person. It should be happening all over the place with a similar manner. And if we've got one, and the thing is, again, it doesn't align with any of the other videos or any of the other evidence we have to date. Maybe this is something special. Maybe it will be proved as something special. I'm just pointing out some things. A similarity in the shape of the object of what's going on. Being able to see the little LEDs around the edge in some of the frames as it's color cycling. We don't know what it is. It could be real. It may be. It may not be. I'm going to stand in the middle, but based on what I have memories of, the shoe doesn't fit or the glove doesn't fit. That's all. It's a great conversation, though. I love it. You know, we've got people who are in multiple. Michael, you've had your hand up for a while. Sokolov, take it.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Larry, I totally agree with you. When it changes, with the ones that I saw, when the colored lights, there's 3 of them. There's one red that blinks off and on, it's sporadically. There's a white light, and then there's one light that changes through the entire color spectrum. And that's what we're seeing, is these weird colors that we've never seen before. And I agree with you. It's a telltale sign of if you get that on video, it's a telltale sign that it's a UFO.
Yep. It's one of the observables. It's probably not listed in the 5 observables, but it's a very good one. And also the white light that isn't blinding.
Yeah. Oh, what did I do? There we go.
You know, the pineal gland has rods and cones, just like your eyes do. But what are they doing down there in the pineal gland? And so my theory is that when you're looking at these lights, you're somehow seeing them with more than just your eyes. And that is the pineal gland as well. And then that combines and makes it like something that you've never seen before.
Potentially. They haven't. Let's see if I've got a video, one of Mike's videos here. If this is one of the ones where he's talking about where it's changing color. Yeah, I need to go ahead and do work on this. But yeah, Mike's videos, I can see it pulsing. We'll figure some of this stuff out shortly. Great conversation. Great point that we've all been pushing all of this through so far. You know, time will tell where this whole conversation is going to take us. You know, there's a video out there that I need to go ahead and watch. Granted, I haven't watched yet, from Chris Little's video that we're going to have to go. I'll have to watch up and follow up to see where it is, and we'll just take it from there. But I'm just trying to, again, in running through my daily feed on Twitter, this was one of the things that was brought up, and I just had to go ahead and just, not trying to throw anybody under the bus, trying to say anything, but when I saw it and I saw some of the patterns that were there, it resonated with me, and that's why I brought it forward. It's a great way for us to look at the situation and see where it goes.
It's very fair.
Yeah.
I mean, you did a fair critique.
Yeah. Absolutely. So where are we at? Why would you look at that? We're at 2 hours and 35 minutes in. The show has been going on. It's been one heck of a great Saturday. Is there anything else actually, Christian Morales, you just joined. Well, he was here, but then are you here, Christian? What do you have to say?
I don't
What
see
say
it.
you?
Thomas, so I don't know much about video analysis, so I can't really comment. But I just wanted to say, because I know I was cursing in the chat, because, you know, we can fight and argue, but, you know, at the end of the day, we're friends, you know?
Yeah.
We might have different opinions. So I just didn't want to, I was like, man, I kind of like a dick in the chat, but.
Oh, you weren't. You're being passionate. That's what it's about. And here's the thing. We can have tough discussions. We can go one way or the other on different topics. If we all saw something the same way, we'd all be using iPhones. We'd all be acting like we're the corporation of Apple versus being a diverse group of people from all different walks of life, from all over the world, coming together to talk about this. And that's the great thing about people in our chat and people who respond to the videos. There are many different views from many different people that we have to respect everybody for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. I do believe it's real, but that's just, I'm not 100%. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Great conversations, to say the absolute least, as I try to get a window that just popped off one of my monitors. Great to have everybody here in this conversation. It's been a great show. I just want to go ahead and send our best wishes to Florence Tracy, who's in the United Kingdom, and she's in the hospital now. I guess she's been there for a couple of weeks. Hopefully you're feeling better, Florence. We send our love and best wishes to you and everything that we possibly can. We miss you as part of as a regular person in the show, and just get better soon, my fair lady. We miss you and we love you, and we hope to hear about you getting better and being able to get back to your house with your wonderful family who's there to take care of you.
Absolutely. And we hope to have you join us again sometime soon.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, to say the least on that matter. What a great show. Is there anything we haven't covered, guys? Silence. I guess
all good here, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all good here now. If I can find where in the hell I put my one of my chat windows at. I've been throwing windows all over the place here today. I know it's got to be here somewhere. Let me get back to Chrome. Where is it at? Hopefully it's here somewhere. Oh, did I lose my freaking chat? I couldn't have. Let me just start closing. Oh, there it is. I found my chat again. There we go. Oh, well, that's not it.
Hey, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Real quick on what Christian was saying, you know, how he was labeling, you know, when we talk to each other sometimes, you know, we label it as fighting, you know, disagreeing and all that stuff. I think we need to stop with the labeling even altogether, just because if we label something, then it becomes dangerous. I say we stick labeling just for wine bottles. Cheers.
Oh, perfect. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's a great way to see it. And we're not trying to label anything. All we're trying to do is look at certain ways to see it. We had one last super chat coming in at the end of the day here, coming in from Lord William. I want to thank Lord William, of course, for that super chat. Sorry to mean to bring it up. They don't want us to win. They don't want us to know the truth, but they know we are going to win at the end of the day. What a great way to end the show with a great message. Appreciate that, Lord William. If I can go ahead, find my sound effect board and bring that up. Actually, wrong one. Not yet. Hold on. Not yet. I want to thank everybody for your super chats today. What a great super chat Saturday. Holy cow. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the love and support. And who all gave us super chats today? We had Lord William, April Coleman, Greg O'Brien, Laura Greeno, Joseph Leland, Adele and Mark for wonderful Florence. Yes, sir. Shelly and Mark, Pam Harris, Matt Ramon, W. Decker, and of course, Lord William. In addition to that, I want to thank all the guys who are in the back in the chat. Who do we have out there? Wes Decker, thanks for coming in today, Wes.
I really enjoyed it. And thank you again for this great forum. And again, my love goes out to Tracy, to Florence. I hope you are feeling better soon. And thanks again for a great show.
Yeah, thank you for being out here. Tamisha, thanks for coming in today. Appreciate you being part of the back again. We didn't scare you off.
No, you didn't. It was a great show. I had a great time. Thank you so
thank
much.
Thank you for being here. Swan, thank you for your passion. It is flowing. Don't stop that river.
Thank you, Thomas, and another great show.
Thank you, sir. Michael Sukloff, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. That takes us down to Larry Gurn. Thank you for being here, Larry.
Thanks for having me, Thomas. It was another great show, and the human adventure is just beginning.
Just beginning, absolutely. That then takes us to Greg O'Brien.
Hey, Thomas,
man.
Everybody. Yeah, absolutely, man. I always love your show. I watch it whether I'm on or off and all that good stuff. I'm not in the reruns. So thanks, man. I always, as I say, thanks for bringing us all together. And I'm always grateful for that. And hope you have a pleasant evening.
Yeah, you too. Grandmaster UV, you've been quiet in the back, having a fun time. Thank you for coming in tonight. Can you say goodnight?
Thanks, bro.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Then we also have Crypto Mike. You've been here, but you haven't said hardly anything. Thanks for being here today, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome, Thomas. I'm sorry I had to play hooky, but today is the weekend. It's Saturday, so I got to juggle my time with the family.
Absolutely.
But I'm in and out, but I'm here. So thanks,
And
Thomas.
almost last, not quite. Andy W. Thanks for coming around today, Andy. Greatly appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. Great show again. I'm going to be mainly a listener again this week because so much going on and overtime and everything. But hopefully Wednesday will be a really good thing with the I've lost my train of thought with the
hearings.
So, the hearings, yes, that's it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Really tired, man. Really tired. So
not a problem.
Yeah,
You get there.
Be safe, everybody.
Yeah, and great, Gary. Great to have you back again. Thanks for coming in tonight, buddy.
You're welcome, I suppose. Whatever. I'm here. Hello. This is Gary speaking. Welcome to Disclosure Tonight. What are we talking about tonight?
We're heading out tonight, Gary. And not just that, I want to thank all the people
Very
who have
quick
been
show.
hanging out and are still hanging out on the chat right now. And that includes, let's take a look, shall we, and see. Craig T. Music, Craig Williams, Creepy Banis, David Wardsky, Digger Dog, Kelly Bro with your piercing blue eyes, Larry Gurnt with your flowing black hair, Mr. Catfish 2100, Europe, Owen from Ohio, Pete Liebel, Sharon Owen, Shelly Montgomery, Sully, Thor Pankow, Tony D, and Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy. We want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Happy Saturday, everybody. And as we usually say at the end of every one of our broadcasts, wrong line.
Thank God that's over. Now what happened?
Eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everybody. But
that
back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. We love you. See ya.
So good night, everybody. Ankle update. I can start walking, but I walk like a penguin.
Nice.
You gotta learn that dance from Mary Poppins now.
Oh, there you go.
I start wobbling.
Yes. Good night, everybody. Love you. See you soon. Bye-bye. And we're clear.
Oh, dear.
I posted the Billy Cox article if anyone wants to read that.
Which one?
The Billy Cox. It's in the chat.
Who's Billy Cox?
The guy who writes the really good articles, like Chris Sharp, occasionally on
cool.
UFOs.
Nice. Oh,
okay.
Cover it next day. Close that down. Close this down. Close this down. 2 hours and some odd minutes. And there we are. We're finished. 180 people today, top. What was that, Tamisha?
I was just gonna say I'll be right back. I gotta stretch. It's a long time to sit.
Yeah, I gotta find Cupcake too. See where she's at.
So I'll be right
To
back.
get going, everybody. I've got to get to bed. So
Really? All right,
good night, Andy.
Yeah,
Have a good night, Andy.
I'm going out early metal detecting tomorrow morning. So yeah, it's a few hours skip, and then have a great show in the week, guys. I'm not going to be around much. I'm going to try and make Wednesday, but if Thomas runs an early one for the hearings, I had a white noise moment there, lack of sleep.
I think he is. I think he's going to be doing it live.
At 7
I'm
a.m.
going to try and be around.
It's 7 a.m.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It's
I mean,
10:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Oh yeah, true.
So it'd be
Live CE5
so 9 for
Chile.
me.
Ah.
But it's going to be 7
All right, I'll
a.m.
be
your
right
time, Tamisha. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, 10.
Yeah, but she's in Washington like Thomas, so she's on the Pacific Coast.
Oh yeah, so it's really early for them.
Really early. It's only
Yeah.
4:45.
No, on when the hearings happen, Thomas.
7 o'clock.
I'm gonna have to set my alarm clock.
That'll be late afternoon or middle of the afternoon for me.
Yeah, won't be as bad for us.
But hopefully, fingers crossed, we get something good out of this one. But I'm not holding my breath. Wait in anticipation.
Aim your sights low, and then you're more likely to be happy about the result.
Pleasantly surprised, I think. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah. Be safe, everybody. I'll see you See you later.
Sleep well, Andy.
Hi, Andy.
Night all. Bye.
Have a good night.
Hey, Andy. Hey, Andy.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you do me a favor?
What's that, mate?
Have a great evening.
Yeah, I will be snoring in about a quarter of an hour, mate. I hope.
Don't let the bed bugs bite.
That'll be good enough for me.
Lock your doors.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
man. Good doors.
Praise
Good
Allah.
luck on the metal detecting, Andy. Take care.
Well,
man.
you
See
never know,
next time.
mate. Yeah. Cheers. Bye.
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 Night, night. Night, night. And just like that, he's out of our lives. It makes no sense.
Come, chameleon.
We'll see him again. Something tells me we'll see that guy again.
Yes. Absolutely.
Definitely tells me.
That was so wonderful. We got the video of where does the poop go?
Right.
Was that is that when you looked up Abbey Loeb?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the ad on the video.
God bless America. God bless America.
That couldn't have been a better placement of a freaking video. My God.
Sometimes it writes itself.
You should have put a picture of the DOD, the Pentagon, up with that video. Where does the poop go? Pentagon, DOD.
I like your idea, Mike, of putting those guys in drag. Who are they? Who do you keep saying?
Yeah, Thomas did that already. He's done that. They need that pressure. It seems to work with them.
He's gonna have so much material to put Kirkpatrick in drags or whatever at the hearing.
Oh, yeah.
That's Kurt Patrice. Thank you.
Good show today. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Nothing goes well without a little bit of drama at times. I'm sorry if I was going up as a type person against you, West. I was just trying to look at it. I see patterns, and when my eyes see patterns and stuff, I see connections. And that was the only reason I was just trying to bring that data forward.
No. It's all good. Like I said, I respect your opinion and your perspective. So,
yeah. And I respect yours as well. So we're both coming at it from, we're both sitting at the same table. It's not like we're trying to kill each other. We're just bringing out different pieces.
You're all adults.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing on Twitter when I butt heads with people, especially over these hearings and the negative Nancy's. I just block them now.
See, me and Sawan, we go out to kill when we're angry.
Yeah.
But the point that I wanted to add to what you made already, West, was that 100 meters is well over 300 feet, which is the size of a football field, not a house. So
I think you said 30 meters for the size of the object.
Yeah, I thought you said 100 meters, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I must have misspoken. My apologies.
You're putting out.
I voted not sure on that video as well.
Welcome to Disinformation Tonight.
Where did Larry go?
How did you hear this evening?
Did Larry book already? He may have booked already. He wasn't feeling that good today again, he had said.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. At least we got to debug Avi's picture showing him that it wasn't over the observatory on the roof where it was before. I like to know where the heck was it? Why did they put it there?
The one with the two little eyes and the umbrella was so cute.
Yes.
I wonder if like someone's ever gonna like. I wonder if someone's gonna go and sit on that thing. That's like a bench. I could see that happening.
It'd be uncomfortable if the umbrella's still up.
Well, not on the one on the roof, but the one on the the forest.
It did look like just a standard bench that you'd have lunch on.
Ooh, what's this? It looks comfortable. Let me sit on it.
Probably think it's like an outside air fryer or something. Barbecue.
I have a question. How come I can't see Gary anywhere?
Because I'm in a different place. I'm on Thomas's side. So I'm not on the
Oh, you're on a different program?
Yeah, I'm not on the calling thing. I'm
okay.
Backstage on Thomas's one.
Gotcha.
I'm all mysterious.
He's just a voice from above, as he should be.
I'm sitting here in my ghost face outfit, waiting for Sydney. She's at lunch at the moment.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to sign off. Have a great night.
Yep, me too. Good night.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks for coming out.
Yep. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. How you doing, Cuppy?
There's a video I wanted to show Wes. I have to show it. So I'll send it to him.
I got a question now, guys. I was going to bring it up in chat or whatever, when you were live. But this whole chat GPT thing,
yeah,
that really concerns me. Like, one of my friends told me that there was an incident not too long ago where these people created a replica of this woman's daughter's voice, okay? And then they were able to create her crying. It was her exact voice and everything. So these people called her up. She was out of the country, I guess. And so these people called her up and played it for her. And she said it sounded just like her daughter. She was able to confirm her daughter was where she was supposed to be. But it was just, that's really scary.
That's more of a deep fake than anything.
You think?
Yeah. They have systems right now where you can take it with a bunch of learning. You can take and put a bunch of someone's voice in there and be able to go through it and replicate someone's voice, and it sounds eerily identical to the person.
Interesting. Everybody's all quiet.
Select voices.
Hey, Mike.
Like Morgan Freeman being regular on the phone. What's up, Greg?
I can barely hear you. Is anybody else having problems hearing Mike? Or is it just
Mike
me?
was breaking up.
Okay. Sorry, bud. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Is my audio breaking up now?
Yeah.
A little bit better.
Yes.
It's going up and down, in and out.
It's going up and down. Could be my Wi-Fi signal. I'll have to check. Sorry about that.
How are y'all feeling? Because I know you guys were drinking the whole show.
I think she's talking to you, Greg.
I know. I guess my silence says it all. Cheers. Yeah, no,
Cheers.
I mean it's Saturday night, man.
Right.
I ain't got nothing else to do. It occupies my time. It occupies my time and my mind. I come up with silly thoughts sometimes, and I have a huge whiteboard behind me that I write the silly thoughts on.
I was going to ask you about that, about your board, because I saw it earlier.
Yeah, for sure. It's my baby. I take good care of her, and I try not to treat her recklessly. To be honest with you, because sometimes you can put reckless thoughts on there that could really. Are you buying any of this? You look so intent. No.
I don't know. I don't know you, so I'm listening. I'm
okay.
listening.
Yes. Okay, I'll go on then. So yeah, I try not to write abandoned or reckless thoughts on any of it. You know what I mean? You gotta it's a big responsibility, is what I'm trying to say. That whiteboard.
Are you a writer?
Not at all.
No?
No,
Okay.
I just think sometimes.
You come up with some pretty cool shit?
Depends on who you ask, I guess. You know? I mean right now I have simulation theory. Each cell is a computer. We program our own computers, ones and zeros, positives, negatives, energy. Mother's heartbeat. What if the Big Bang was a single cell that divided into everything we know now? When you're in, you don't know what is out before you're born. And we lost 30 people in the fart safari.
I love it. I love it.
That's
it's pretty deep.
Yeah. Cheers. And that's all I got so far. She's new still. Still got that new whiteboard shine. Feel like I need to treat her a little bit better. Anybody can jump in too. I mean, come on, I'm dying.
You're fine.
Mike, can I put you on the spot?
Mike. We're just sitting here in silence letting you just do this.
Yes, Gary, thank you. I'm so glad you're here. What's up, dude? How have you been?
Fair to
put me on the spot.
And I'm scared. I've been wanting to ask you this question for so long, and I'm scared to, and it's no disrespect, and I hope you don't take it this way, but what do you think about 9/11? Inside job, or it is what it says it was? You being in the position you have been in before.
Oh, it absolutely is what it said it was. There's no mystery about that.
Okay.
Aside from conspiracy theories, Greg.
Okay, fair enough. So I'm so like wish-washy on that kind of thing, and I like hearing all the shit. So all the sides. It's just
that's good because I thought about
the shape of the impact on the Pentagon does not align to a 757. Sorry, there are two huge fucking Mercedes engines that are in either side of those. When they showed the picture of the Pentagon being hit, there was a singular circle hole. There was no all this wreckage of a plane coming down. More importantly, where the fuck were the engines? Those engines should have put a bigger hole into the side of that building than the fuselage is just a bunch of lightweight shit. The biggest, heaviest part on that plane is the engines. Why wasn't there any things in the ground? Why wasn't there any impact to the building from the engines? From that perspective, whatever hit the Pentagon was not a 757, in my perspective. Just, again, if the shape isn't there and it doesn't match up, why did they go ahead and confiscate every single camera that had that in view and none of that video has ever been released?
And if that doesn't add up, then it kind of makes you wonder, like, how can anything else add up about that?
Why did the third building by WTC come down in a way that it was like done with demolition? It collapsed straight down. Nothing hit it to cause it to go straight down. Why did that collapse in that way? That didn't make sense either. So there are certain things in it that kind of make sense, but there's other things you just have to look at it and seriously say, what the fuck really happened? It's all of the facts aren't there. There's something fishy going on here. Whether it was all them or a combination of us and them, whatever it was, something's not lining up. And I think there was something that was the FBI was suing the CIA for information related to 9/11, and they wouldn't allow it to come forward, and they wouldn't release it. And it was a big. There was an article I read on this, God, within the last couple months, and you look at it and say, why would they cover it up? Why wouldn't they share it with other government agencies? That didn't make sense either. Mike?
Prior to 9/11, there was a huge disconnect between the various intelligence agencies and the sharing of information, including the FBI. And the reason for that, it changed after 9/11, where they had the Patriot Act enacted, so that now they had to jointly share all sorts of information with each other, even though they still don't do that.
Right.
But that's what was going on. And I can't speak about what happened at the crash site to the Pentagon, but the one here in New York City, I was at that site. I could tell you, it was like hell on earth.
I know. I have friends that were unfortunately like on the food lines and taking care of the people on the lines, taking all the different rubble out. You'd probably say 90% of those people are probably dead by now from industrial disease of all the shit that went in their lungs. You can just talk to me, Misha. You don't need to raise your hand.
Everybody that I've known that was there have all had some sort of cancer or diseases that resulted in death or disability. So it's a nightmare. Everybody is dealing with that. Still the after effects.
Yeah.
And Mike, I just have to say that I think everybody in America and across the world, well, maybe not across the world, but America felt it. Like, I remember where I was at.
I had people coming to visit from New York to Seattle. Some of them flew out of JFK. Some of them flew out of LaGuardia. Some of the people who were still at the company were actually on the subway underneath the tower when it fucking got hit, and their subway went dead. So I have a lot of good close friends from that time who were there or a part of it. And you know what? When I heard about this stuff and what was going on, they didn't announce where the flights were coming from. I was freaking out because you know what? The amount of fuel you need to go from New York to Washington State, SeaTac, is about the same amount of fuel as it takes you to get there from LA. So those flights could have been targeted as well. Instead, they took flights that were targeting LAX.
Okay,
More
so anyway, what was I saying? I remember where I was at when it happened, and like I'm a private CNA, and I literally like had to go outside and get some air. I mean, I felt it because I'm an empath, you know what I mean, and all those emotions, and it was really hard for me. So, there's a lot of people that stood with you guys. And, I wanted to say this to you last night, thank you for your service and for what you did for so many years,
Well, thank you for saying that, Tamisha, but I wasn't in the military. I was in civilian law enforcement, so not quite the same thing. But I appreciate the thought and the sentiment.
No. You put your life on the line every day. Just the same as, our military, to protect the people. So yes, thank you for your service.
It's very kind of you to say, Tanisha. I greatly appreciate that.
You're welcome.
But there's a difference between civilian and federal military, because they go overseas, they go to real hellholes. Civilian usually stays within the country.
Civilian, you can go ahead and quit your job and walk away at any time you want. Is that live, Grandmaster? What's that?
Yes.
No, that's a video he's watching.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a video you're watching on a monitor. Cool.
Yeah, this is live from Chile. Tio Avni, Chile. CE5 night vision live stream.
Can you share the link in the chat?
Yeah, sure.
Looks like a satellite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he's chasing the satellite.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, I got to tell you, I've always wanted to do that.
Saw it here.
My friend had a strong ass laser pointer to where he would like point at like paper across the room and it would catch on fire and like pop balloons and shit like that.
Yeah.
You can't. It's a green screen on right now, but I've got a laser right here, and I purposely bought it for that. But you got to be careful; it's not civilian, because if you're doing anything near a civilian craft, it's probably not powerful enough either. It needs to be a lot powerful than the one I've got, though. But yes, I do have one on my desk specifically for that purpose. And if I do get an orb coming down near me again or in the area, I'll have that with me when I go outside.
Yeah, hey Thomas, I sent you those 2 clips.
Yeah,
I resent them.
I know I got them. They're already here. I saw them during the stuff, and what I wanted to do was go ahead and take them into Final Cut Pro and just stabilize the video first so we can see the stuff better.
Okay, yeah, so I can't remember, but I believe both of them were filmed from within my suite through a screen. So it's going to be, it may not be the best. I can't remember. Yeah. One may not be, but the other one was through the screen.
What do you mean by suite?
An apartment?
Okay, cool. Yeah, cool.
Come here, baby. Come here.
Nice. I guess it just comes out down to how often you're going and looking up is often is that's is basically what you're going to be able to pick up. And there's a guy, I have some of his tapes here I need to go through. He's got hours of video that he's recorded on the psionics down in Tacoma. I need to go through it and see what he's got on here. Who knows? It's just hours and hours of video of just, and the only way you're going to see stuff is by taking the video and scrubbing back and forth through it if you don't have a motion detection, and then you'll be able to go ahead and pick up moving objects pretty easily. It can be fun.
The nice thing about it is where we live, Thomas. I mean, I can drive up into the mountains right now and go real high. You know, the higher you can get, the better.
Yeah, but also directly, do you have a clear overhead view of where you're at?
An overhead view of where I'm at.
If you look up where you live, is it all stars? So if you look up overhead over your house.
Oh yeah. Stars.
You're perfect then. You don't have to be looking off in different directions. If you can tilt out and get more of a span, that's fine. But if at least you can go ahead and capture a portion of the sky in the evening, that's all you want to do. And that's what Jim has done. He's a great guy. Out of here it is, no name. DCIM. I can do this. Cupcake's already waiting for me, so I need to transfer desks. Give me a second here.
What's
You
the
thought
cat's
my-
name?
Oh, sorry. Her name is Sweet Pea. I call her Princess Pea.
Princess Pea.
Yeah, and then I have a male who's 11,
Look out.
and his name is Oscar.
Oscar and P, huh?
Yeah, I just got her. And she is a spaz. She's a real spaz, but I love it.
How
I
are
love
those
cats.
claws?
Huh?
How are the claws?
Her claws are sharp, but luckily my girlfriend, she's a vet tech, so she comes over and she cuts my cat's nails.
I can't do it either. I can't. I always had a problem cutting my dog's nails and stuff. I'm like, it's just
Yeah.
the sound, I think, and just the. Ugh.